that often happen to pitchers?
It happens. It happened to Adam Wainwright.
It happens to people walking down the stairs.
You know we're recording, right?
I know.
Cool. Oh.
Oh, I know that, Micah. Oh, I did it.
Are you ready?
Change brightness. Oh, let me adjust my brightness on my monitor so I don't wash out when I get close to it.
That, you could also just get a tan.
No, one of these things is possible. The other is not.
Your beard is like just incredible right now.
It's so fucking long.
You can get a spray tan.
Yeah, I mean, my wife runs a spray tan business, but I got tired of it.
I thought that was defunct.
I mean, yeah, but she still has the stuff. All right.
You can go Trump orange.
Everybody likes Trump orange.
Lionel?
Is that considered blackface? If Ryan gets like even a tan, like is that?
Hey!
Yeah, like Polynesian.
Don't appropriate us.
Ryan's like really white.
Yeah, I don't know. So many people are like, why don't you just go get a tan? I'm like, do you think I just like don't go in the sun? I played sports my entire life. I lived outside my entire.
It's called melanoma, guys.
Melanoma.
If you try to go get a tan.
Oh, gotcha. I was like,
isn't that the Mummy?
You just get freckles when you get in the sun a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this is about what happened.
Your freckles just take all the sunlight in by themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I have limited melanin. That's
Ryan's that special kind of white. That special kind of.
Like,
he's got.
It just doesn't change color.
He's got a lot of Neanderthal DNA in him.
Caucasus
Mountain. You got that Viking blood in you. That was a family joke.
Vikings were black. Correct yourself.
Yeah.
Some of them were. Not
actually,
all of them.
Something that I've learned is that if there's like a legendary like warrior race anywhere, like in the world, there are people that will tell you that they were white, and there are people that will tell you that they were black. So like
I just think
the ancient Greeks were black.
They had braids. They just had braids and long.
The
braids.
Celts had braids as well.
You can find arguments either way.
Right.
On the internet for anything.
But allegedly royalty in Western Europe was also black.
Oh, hey guys, welcome to the Fish and Grits podcast. By the way, we're just gonna do a soft rollout here.
Yeah, let's roll it in.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Lionel. Welcome to Fish and Grits podcast. I'm joined by the beans to my rice, the sweet tea to my lemonade. My co-hosts Ryan Dollar.
What's up, guys?
Marco Restrepo.
Ciao.
And Michael Poole.
Hey,
so we're gonna take it real easy today. We've been pushing like 3-hour episodes. It's a lot of work for us. We've had a lot of
real hard in the paint.
Yeah, real hard in the paint. So I think it's we deserve just a little bit of a break, a little bit of breaksies. I do want to start the episode off with a review. Jess listened to our Aisha Deal interview today.
Nice.
Finally, all the way through. And she had a lot of complimentary things to say. Specifically, she said that Marco did a really good job of weaving his questions into the conversation. And sort of, she said that he did a really, really good job with that. So if you haven't listened to that episode, it's called A Big Deal or something like that. I don't know. Ryan makes
a very big deal. Like that. I did the highlights. I don't know. Nikki's been really sort of slacking on the highlights recently, but
I'll get onto her.
Your highlight your highlight about the NFL not liking women is probably my favorite highlight there.
Thanks. It's true though. I really I just want to take this podcast is it's such a group effort, right? Especially from people like everybody that's here, but also, people who we don't really see. And we want to give a shout out really quick. I want to give a couple of shout outs because, mostly I show up to the Zoom call and then have hot takes. That's like that's like my major contribution. So I want to shout out to Ryan specifically for doing all of our editing and getting these episodes up and stuff like that. Because when I was doing it, it was taking like a week. So Ryan's super quick on it. Give a shout out to Ryan's stepsister, Nicole, and wife, Nicole Restrepo. Who
funny how that happened.
Right. Doing a lot of our social stuff and helping out a bunch like that. Marco's killing it with our clips and highlights and our YouTube channel. Mike is here to make sure that we don't forget where we started, which was, the only 4 people in the group chat that were talking.
And it keeps us fed.
Yeah. Exactly. Big ups to we'll get to that in current events. And big ups to the Twitter support team that's going to help us unlock our Twitter account after Ryan locked it.
What were you doing to lock our account?
So the birthday was set to Lionel's birthday. So, let me just set it to our first episode when we published our first episode. And then as soon as I did it, it was like, hey, gotcha, you're in Twitter jail now. And it didn't give any warning. It didn't say, if you do this, this is going to go against this.
So they think we're 1 year old?
They think we're 5 months old.
Yeah. You got to be at least 13 to have a Twitter account.
We are savants.
So I get this email. It's like, hey, your Twitter account's locked. And I was like, motherfucker, what? So I logged in and it was like, yo, your shit's locked. And I was like, this is crazy, man. This is crazy. So I went in the chat and I was like, Ryan, what the fuck did you do? He was like, oh, I just set the birthday to the. First off, I think he was like, I can fix this.
Legit. I was like, oh no. How do I was like a little kid with the dike.
Like stickers in all the holes. Like he was like, I set our birthday to the date of our first episodes. You fucking idiot. Like just my whole face was just like, and it's funny because I've had a couple people be like, hey, what happened to the podcast Twitter account? Because there's like a line of demarcation as far as like how old people are based on like whether they use Twitter or whether they use Instagram. And like we're right in the cusp, Ryan and I. But like some of our more previous generation listeners are more Twitter folks because Twitter was around before Instagram, and that's really like what they use. So I know that we're
just stop the show, or where'd the Twitter go?
do the Twitter account, and I was just like, Ryan broke it.
Sorry.
Yeah. So
I wonder why that is, though. Is that because like they don't want people to come and perpetrate as little kids?
They can get arrested and fined. There's so many laws against people misusing technology, like to protect the kids, and the way that they do it is they hold sites super responsible for user signups and stuff like that. 13 is the cutoff. So like we've got Jackson on screen time on his iPad. So like this dude's got to ask me permission every time he wants to go to a website. Like I've got it like locked. But like when he turns 13, all that stuff turns off. Because they're like, well, 13. It's just another example of the United States government's idea of what an adult is being fucked up, right?
What an arbitrary age, 13.
Well, and like it kind of goes back to, so you have to be 21 to buy cigarettes and 21 to buy beer, but you can vote and die for your country at 17 with a parent's letter.
Mm-hmm.
You can't drink, you can't smoke, you can't vote, but you can work at 15. You can have full autonomy on the internet at 13. And girls who are underage are called underage women.
Yeah, 16 and 17 in Georgia, that's fair game.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, you see headlines recently. It's like, man accused of having non-consensual sex with underage woman. And she was like,
ugh.
It's like, you mean man accused of raping girl?
Of being
Right,
a
little girl.
pedo.
But it also goes like with the 15. So like if a high school senior messes with the sophomore who hasn't turned 16 yet, he can go to jail for statutory rape because she's 15, even though they're peers technically, she's not of age of consent. So,
well, in theory, I understand why they extended the rule, but in practice, it's very suspect.
It's just another example of the government not knowing. Like I think the work age one is my favorite because it shows just how much of a capitalist wasteland our country is. Because back before the Great Depression, there were no such thing as. I listened to this awesome podcast. I'll have to find it, see if I can find it before the episode ends. Toss it in my rec. This podcast was talking about where the idea of the American childhood came from, because for the longest time there was no such thing as what we think of as childhood. Like laying in the clover, watching the clouds roll by and playing with tadpoles in the stream or whatever.
G.I. Joes.
Right. It was like you went to work either on the farm or in the factory or in the mine because, you know, it's hard out there for a pimp, because we live in a capitalist wasteland of a world. And then in the Great Depression, children were taking jobs from adults. So it's funny how like the greatest gains in our quality of life and our history and the quality of work in our history were conducted by, you know, more socialist presidents like FDR. And then we spent decades trying to undo it. So we didn't have childhood until like the 30s.
Wow.
When we enacted child labor laws to protect jobs for adults because kids were taking adults' jobs.
Was it? I remember when we learned about it in school, there was something about like kids were like, obviously they were too small to carry out a lot of tasks and they were like getting grinded up in machines and things like that, like at a very frequent rate.
Yeah, they could also like fit into like really tight spaces to like fix things, you know, tiny, and their little hands could fit into like the machinery or whatever. And it's funny to me because like when they made these child labor laws, they were like 15, that's a man, you know, because back in like the 30s, it's just like, well, you turned 15, Bobby, now it's time to go kill Jerry. You know? And now, you know, I look at a 15-year-old and I'm like, what the fuck? I look at an 18-year-old and I'm like, how are you old enough to have a gun?
Right.
That's America.
Or drive.
The maturity level.
Or vote.
Or anything.
I mean, at that age, because I was looking at the life expectancy in 1930, 58 for men and 62 for women. So you're technically a fifth of your life.
Well, when you're 15?
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle did a whole
no, fourth. Sorry.
When you're 12 or something.
Dave Chappelle did a whole skit about that, or whole part of his comedy about the how old is 15 really.
Yeah,
what did he say?
Big shout out to Dave.
Well, I mean, he basically talked about how like Elizabeth Smart, how she got caught and locked in the basement, wasn't tied up at 15 and was 8 miles away from her house and couldn't get away. And it was like, you know, you say, oh yeah, she's only 15. Said, but then they locked a black guy, a kid up for practicing wrestling moves with one of his neighbors and wound up killing him accidentally. And they sent him to jail for life. So it's like, you know, well, then he tied it into R. Kelly peeing on girls, but you know.
You know how Chappelle goes.
Yeah.
It's on you.
Apparently, speaking of R. Kelly, apparently the Roots are getting slandered because they allegedly were in the studio for a lot of these sessions where R. Kelly would go and recruit little girls. So apparently the Roots knew about this, but they told this girl who was in the studio to shut your mouth because he pays a lot of people.
Yikes.
People are freaking about like Wayfair, you know, like people are freaking out about like the Wayfair cabinets. But like they're forgetting like actual blatant instances of pedophilia among like Drake and school.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Drake.
Yeah, Drake had this like 15-year-old up on the stage and he was like basically groping her, and then the whole thing with
he was grooming that one actor chick.
Yeah. 11 from Stranger Things.
Okay.
And like he's got a bunch of that shit. And then same with Schoolboy Q, I guess. There's a bunch of dudes out there like stop focusing on stuff like money laundering on Wayfair, right? Which is real. That's real. But it, you know, like you could also just stop listening to Drake because he molests little girls.
I already did.
I did too, actually. Chris Brown's also on my do not listen list. Nobody messes with Riri. Nobody messes with Riri in my house. All right, let's do some current events. I think the biggest news of the past week is we got a shout out on 92.9 The Game, Atlanta's own 92.9 The Game. That was pretty dope. Did you guys listen?
Really cool.
I listened live.
Yeah,
I did too. Yeah, I tried to record it, but my computer fan
maybe I'll
completely trashed the audio.
I'll grab the audio from the clip I recorded and throw it in the.
I think it's on our gram.
I'm glad y'all were able to record it because I couldn't hear shit.
It's on the Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it on the Instagram, but like, I mean, at work, I can't watch or do anything.
Except get COVID.
Except get COVID.
Oh, God.
Eat under the building. Poor Micah.
Did you explain that? What?
Yeah,
no, seriously, it's pretty much we keep pallets and like packing materials like bubble wrap and packing peanuts under the building. That's the only thing we keep under there. So I just sat my food on top of on a box of bubble wrap and ate.
At least you had a quiet lunch.
Yeah. I mean, she legitimately went in there and ate 15 minutes before I went on break. So
just for context, there's a senior employee where Micah works, and they're forcing her to come to work,
they're not forcing her to come to work.
Okay,
they're just not making her stay at home after she got a COVID test.
Yeah, until the results came in. Keep her home.
Because she was out gallivanting in Myrtle Beach.
Here's the thing, man. Like, okay, so the government's like, you gotta send your kid to school, right? Like, Paulding County's got kids at school. I don't know if you heard about this, but they suspended the kids that posted the pictures of the Paulding County hallway.
They suspended them.
Yeah.
The district looked bad.
Because that's the problem.
Right. So the government's like sending kids to school. We just got an email that Gwinnett is going to do their hybrid thing where like kids who want to stay home can stay home, but kids who need to go to school can go to school, right? They decided that they're going to open it up in September. They told the teachers at the same time they told us, the parents. So I'm over here like, why are you doing that? And I get people like arguing people on my Facebook. They're like, well, what if people have jobs? And it's like, so you have to choose between like sending your kid to school and going to work, right? It's like, yeah, well, I got to pay my bills. I was like, cool. What if we just paid people to stay home like every other advanced country on the planet? It's like, well, that's socialism.
So
what are you, a Marxist?
Right. Are you a Marxist? Are you a Black Lives Matter Marxist? Yes, I am. I love stuff like that where like people will be like there's this Twitter account I like called Accidentally Left Wing where they just post like screen caps of when people make arguments for leftist policies. And it's like, this lady's like, man, tampons should be free. This is ridiculous. And someone comments, like, oh, so I bet you think things like water and food and shelter should also be free. And like the account's just like, yes. So Bernie Sanders had an interesting thing. I'm a little iffy on Bernie sometimes, but
he's a complainer. That's my only problem with him. He complains a lot more than provides solutions.
Well, he said that if we taxed billionaires over the first few months of this year at 60%, we would have enough money to fund healthcare in this country for every man, woman, and child for 12 straight months. And the billionaires would still take home $485 million.
Wait, say that one more time. You're saying that's a huge percentage to tax them, right? So that's 60% to tax them for 1 year, and will provide healthcare for just. Say that again.
For like 8 months, and it would provide healthcare for every single American for
a full year.
It's essentially a solution to people going and racking up bills.
What are billionaires currently taxed at? Like what, 30 to 40%?
Minuscule.
It depends on what their it depends on how they report their income. Because like Bezos doesn't pay a lot. Yeah, it's all offshore, the Panama Papers and stuff like that. But like I saw another one was like LA was talking about how it would cost $400 million to provide housing for every homeless person in the city of Los Angeles. They're like, that's why we can't do it. They spend $3.2 billion on police every year. So it's like, so you're telling me that like 1% of the police budget could give every homeless person in LA a house.
Or LeBron.
Right. So kind of related. Since we're talking about the police thing, did you see that quote from AOC like 2 days ago? And they were trying to really rib her. They're like, could you imagine a world where we defunded the police and there was not police everywhere, and everything that they think defunding the police is, the right wings, that is. And she's like, yeah, I can actually. It's called the suburbs. And they were like, oh.
Right. She's really good at social media. Did you see? So she got called a bitch by that guy, right? A fucking bitch by that guy. And then she like goes on TikTok like the next day and is like walking away from the state capitol and is like filming herself. It's just like, I'm that bitch. Like she like put like a track. I think maybe it was Savage by Megan Thee Stallion. But she like was like, I was like, get it, girl.
She's good. She's pretty awesome.
Who are we talking about?
AOC, man. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, the one they were saying like all the mean things too. They tell her to go back to her country and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. When a woman of color threatens old white men, they tend to get kind of antsy. Yeah. Oh, other current events news. So Jackson's been in this Atlanta United soccer camp this week. They're hosting it up at like an offshoot of the training facility up in Marietta. And he got to see Joseph Martinez today.
What?
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
Joseph drove up in a Jeep and like waved at them. Jackson's friend Nico has AU shaved into the back of his head for this camp. So they were like waving at it, and Jackson was pretty stoked. Jackson wants to be number 17 because that's what Joseph wears for the Venezuela national team. And Jackson recently started playing FIFA. He picked it up real quick.
Yeah.
Joseph's
So
in
fun.
for the Golden Boot in the MLS right now. He came in, he's like, Daddy, I just beat Impact Montreal like 6-1. You had to give up that goal, bro. Well, you don't want to have a clean sheet.
Well, how's the camp work? Social distancing.
Right. So we have to stay in our cars. We show up during a drop-off window. The kids are temperature scanned and then given a questionnaire by a staff member at the gate. They come in, they sanitize their hands. All of the staff are wearing masks, and they do mostly individual drills, and then they let the kids scrimmage. But like soccer's usually like a low contact, low risk sort of activity, especially when they're only playing for like, I think they're only scrimmaging for like 30 minutes or something like that. We've been super impressed with Atlanta United's stuff. They give the kids a transfer value every day based on what they do, like
That's cool.
during the camp. So Jackson's like, yeah, my transfer value is like 130 mil right now. I was like, oh, that's it. It's like 170. So it's making me happy. It's good to see Jackson with like Atlanta United Academy coaches, and it's been pretty fun. But he got to see Joseph Martinez.
That's amazing.
But like, I guess like in previous years, just what they say that maybe a first team player will show up as long as there's not like games or whatever. And they'll come and like sign autographs and whatever. But it's COVID. So Joseph legit like, drove up in his Jeep, got out and waved at them from the parking lot, and then got back in and drove away. Like, okay, man.
Duty.
I don't want him to walk anywhere anyway.
Right.
Be careful with that knee.
He looked pretty good in his drills he was running the other day.
Yeah, well, we won't see him until next year. So, but that's cool because we're not gonna have sports after like next month anyway.
All right.
So, I saw a tweet that was like the NBA bubble, right? They ran like 343 tests and they had 0 COVID positives, which is great. And the tweet said, you understand that the NBA bubble is literally just everyone wearing masks and social distancing. Like if we all just did that, we could all be good. So there's that. But also big ups to the NBA. Have you guys been watching?
Oh yeah.
Of course. I'm actually watching right now.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Remember when I said I was going to follow the Lake Show? I can't do it. I'm like watching LeBron and AD, and when LeBron gets all like super dramatic when someone like breathes on him, and he's like,
yeah.
I can't do it. So now I'm watching the Raps because they lost Kawhi Leonard, and then they were just like, okay, they're still like,
right. Van Fleet's like Van Goat.
Right. Him and Siakam have just
Siakam looks really good, and then OG, what's his name?
Anunoby.
Anunoby.
Yeah. OG Anunoby.
That team is just like, they're just so good, and like it doesn't matter how they rotate. Like they've got shooters on the floor, all up and down that depth chart. I'm super impressed with that. I've also been super impressed with Chris Paul just refusing to go into irrelevance. Right, like. Go ahead, Ryan.
I heard a really interesting stat about Chris Paul. Every month this season, he's improved his efficiency and his true shooting percentage. So he's gotten better every month of the season.
Wow.
And he's been playing exceptionally well all season. So he just
An
keeps taking it to another
SGA
level.
is a perfect, what do you call it when a person mentors somebody? An apprentice.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, he's going to be so good.
And was it Schroeder ended up on the Rockets, right?
No, Shooter's still there.
He's still, yeah.
He's
They run a 3-guard set.
Okay. The Rockets' tiny like small ball lineup that they have, where it's just like 5 guards on the floor, is hilarious to me, but also really entertaining to watch.
It is, but very
Pickup
beatable.
Yeah.
Hey, they beat the Bucks the other day.
The Bucks, yeah. The Bucks are looking. The funny thing about the Bucks is like, I don't know, like Giannis, yeah, he's the MVP, but how can you be a star, like a legitimate star in the league, when it comes time to take the last shot, they go everywhere but you?
Or just spread the court and hope that he can drive the lane.
Yeah,
Which he can't, 'cause he just got
his biggest
stripped.
weakness, though.
Right, because he's so big. He's damn near 7 feet. They're playing a team where the tallest guy is Danny Green. And this dude, every time he tried to drive to the basket in the fourth quarter, Jalen Harden's like, give me that. Or Westbrook was like, give me that. And it's like, bro, how predictable can you be?
Yeah, the Bucks also lost to the Nets, who just met each other like last week.
Right.
So
The 2 number 1 seeds have looked bad.
The Lakers have looked god-awful.
They have sorry, Mike, I'll get this out real quick and I'll let you go. The Lakers have the number 2 best defense since coming back, but the worst offense since coming back.
I mean, that's sort of what I said about them. It was like, where are they going to get their shooting from? And people want to be like, oh, Danny Green. But Danny Green's old as hell. And then, Avery Bradley's gone. He was old as hell too. But Kuzma's not a knockdown shooter. Like, Caruso doesn't have any confidence. I mean, he can knock down shots, but they're not trying to
JR.
shoot. JR, right? Well, JR has to be falling out of bounds.
Tavius Caldwell Pope.
Yeah, it's pretty like Deion Waiters. Caldwell Pope's not really a knockdown guy either. It's like they don't have any knockdown
He's
shooters.
okay, yeah.
But my biggest surprise is Phoenix.
No, don't even say Phoenix. Devin Booker.
Yeah.
Who out here hated Devin Booker? Ryan, I think it was you.
I don't
Devin
like his
Booker.
defense.
Oh yeah, but he.
it was me. I was saying Devin Booker's that guy that like looks really good on the Suns, and then he goes to a good team.
Right.
But I mean that caught me off guard.
That caught you off guard. How?
Well, no, I mean just because the team in general, the Suns didn't look great as a team, but so far they're playing very good basketball as a team. It's clean.
Right.
Devin Booker's been good for years, dude. But
Well, Devin Booker has, but not everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, let me say this though, because I feel this is my theory about Devin Booker right now. So, you know how every summer we always get these videos and highlights, just like it's the Bowl effect as well. These guys come out to Rico Hines and they tear it up in the summertime. Right now we're in that window where Devin Booker is always murdering and killing people.
That's
You
a
know
good
what
point.
I mean? And now he's
That
4-0.
return window.
Like, exactly. He had the best move so far, besides TJ Warren just lighting it up. He had the best, like that pivot. It's like a lot of guys dribble so much to try to get open. But it's like Kobe, MJ, Booker, I can put him in that category. It's like you can pivot. You can just use footwork to get open. You don't have to dribble the ball a million times to nowhere.
So you're saying that if basketball is a summer sport,
I think he's saying that the basketball season is only 15 games. Because I think the Suns were in first place for like the first 20 games throughout the West, and then they just collapsed
without Ayton. But yeah, then they just fell apart.
Well, do you think that do you think that this was one of those things we were talking about, the importance of coaching, right? Like we got teams that we were talking about, like our dark horse picks and stuff like that, where we'd have teams that don't have talent to rely on necessarily. So they just get, you just out coach the other guys, right? So like the Lakers, Frank Vogel, like how much coaching does Frank Vogel have to do? Or how much coaching does Frank Vogel expect to have to do?
Well,
Actually, he's been one of the few that LeBron's listened to.
Right,
But where's the
LeBron
impact of that?
Defensive assignments from the bench. Like you can hear him yelling defensive assignments from the bench.
Right.
But like Frank Vogel, if you are the head coach of the Lakers, right, this Lakers, and you show up to work with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, Kyle Kuzma, how much coaching are you expecting to do?
not much. Yeah,
I
like
feel
defense,
Not to your stars, but the other guys.
I could just see Frank Vogel being like calling like a spot up for the big, a center on the wing, and LeBron just waving that off. Now I got it. We're running my play. Pick and roll. Let's go.
Right.
So
and my thing is, like, with Vogel, it's like you look at LeBron in his past seasons. I don't really see that much of a difference in the way that, like, the LeBron system is held true. Like, I think Vogel would have came through if, like, say, Kuzma would have had a great season. And he would have sort of found, Coach Kuzma into a real role and not just a guy who, okay, you can score pretty well, but what else do you do? Nothing.
Compare that to like Nick Nurse, right, up in Toronto, who is like coaching. He's coaching his ass off.
Yes, sir.
That man lost one of the best players on the planet, and without a doubt the best player on his team. And the Raps actually looked like they were on this. I saw the stat that they had the same record the second game in the bubble as they did last year at the same game number. Like it was just like, and their shooting percentage is the same. Like it's nuts what Nick Nurse has done.
Damn, what happened to Dallas, man? They were in this shit for a second. Oh, okay. I see what's wrong. Seth isn't out there. They're X Factor.
Timmy, man. Watch out for THJ, my guy.
Yeah.
Watching Timmy drain threes on the Mavs was just like
Dude, that's definitely one of the few Hawks that we let go, like guys that we didn't bring back, and I was just like, God, I miss that guy.
Did we trade him or did we just not bring him back?
They got signed in New York for a ridiculous deal.
The Knicks just offered him way more than we were willing to pay for him.
Way more than he was worth, quite frankly.
It was I think they gave him like 17, 18 million a year, and we were just like, we weren't trying to spend that much on him.
I love Timmy. You guys should know that I love Timmy, right? Like he was so much fun to watch, but he's a sixth man. He's not like.
One time he had an interview on 92.9, and he was like, because his dad is Tim Hardaway's known for the crossover, right? Oh, so they were pretty much asking him, like, growing up around your dad, did you ever practice, your crossover and blah, blah, blah? And he's like, I don't need a crossover. What do I need a crossover for? And I'm like, bro, you're in the NBA. Like, what kind of answer is that?
Tim Hardaway Sr. is crossing his son up on his way into the kitchen. He's trying to get some Fruit Loops. That's just like, oh, Juke Jack shoes.
Dude, thinking back on it, the great six men we had
Lou,
we had Jamal Crawford, we had Tim Hardaway, and Dennis Schroeder.
Yep.
So it's like all these guys developed in our system. Well, I wouldn't say Jamal Crawford didn't develop in our system, but played in our system for a while, and then goes elsewhere, and then sixth man of the year. It's like,
well, now we have DeAndre Bembry, so
Boris Diaw, don't forget him.
Boris Diaw goes.
But the
to
problem
San Antonio.
is, I think the problem with that is when players in Atlanta, they feel like they should feature. They feel like they're the star. And then once they go somewhere else, they're quickly humbled and be like, yeah, you're a bench guy.
Well, that's like the Knicks signing Timmy, Timmy was better than everybody that was on the Knicks, but he's not an $18 million. Like, that's the thing is, like, he is a huge upgrade for your team for sure, but that's a reach, my guy.
Yeah.
Let's carry us.
Just below a max deal.
So I want to get back to coaching for a second because I got something that's bugging me, right? So we like to make fun of Mike Brown I want to see if you guys can tell where I'm going with this. Mike Brown, Frank Vogel, Ty Lue,
David Blatt.
David Blatt.
Yeah.
We get these coaches and we're like, LeBron just won that. Spoelstra is one that we've seen, and we've talked about this a little bit, where like Spoelstra stuck around after Braun was there, and he's doing a really good job with Miami. But I think that's more of like Pat Riley knows how to hire coaches, right?
Spoelstra had Riley backing him, which is why LeBron listened.
The funny LeBron didn't want Spoelstra, and Pat Riley was like, "No, he's my guy."
So we talk so much smack about these guys, but we don't talk smack about, I don't know, Phil Jackson. Like, look at the teams that Phil Jackson won championships with, right? Did he coach his way to those championships, or was he carried there by the massive number of all-stars that he managed to get on both of those teams? And then when he got somewhere where he actually had to coach someone, namely the Knicks, it was garbage.
Well, he didn't coach the Knicks. He was GM.
He did for a little bit.
He didn't coach the Knicks.
Carmelo was trying to get him to come down, but he's like, "Yeah, Carmelo, you're not on that level for me." But I will defend Phil Jackson because it's just like that. He had the talent, but especially with the Lakers, because they had all the pieces before he got there, and he sort of found a way to put them together.
The personality,
obviously, yeah, like that's what he's good at, right? So he takes the personalities and he mends them together. X and O wise, it was really Tex. It wasn't Phil, but Phil is a great coordinator of personalities, and he was able to create turmoil, solve turmoil in the ways that would, get them through the season without killing each other.
Oh yeah. Well, the other thing was like when he first got to Chicago, he took that team with Pippen, Jordan, that couldn't get over the hump, and he changed the way they played. Because that's what Jordan talked about. He was concerned, the offense doesn't revolve around me. And he's like, you'll get your points, but we're going to get everybody else involved.
Right. So
like the Luke Longleys and Bill Winningtons, those guys are actually going to contribute in the offense instead of just standing around. All right, what do I do, coach?
Right. And real quick to that point is like you saw Kobe during his Kobe pretty much had his his rookie year to his good years between the Shaq Lakers and then his winning championships on his own, when he was just scoring points, putting up the stats, but he couldn't win. He was getting eliminated in the first round of playoffs. I think he even missed the playoffs one. So, and that was without Phil. So even though Kobe's win against Orlando is sort of taken for granted, because I think he carried a team that was really not that strong to that championship, and Orlando was a good team.
Well,
I think that Phil,
Orlando should have won.
What do you mean?
That was Stan Gundy, because Rayford Alston was destroying Derek Fisher, and they were up 4-2 or 3-2, and had a chance to close out Game 6 when Jameer Nelson comes back, and
what series are you talking about? The Orlando lost 4-1.
Orlando, no, I think they lost 4-2 or 4-3. It was a closer series. They had the momentum in the series.
My point is that every single game, because I just went and rewatched it, every game was close, right? It was that's why I'm saying that I think people sort of discredit that one for Kobe because they make it seem like, oh, that was easy. But no, every game was close. And Orlando was a really good team. But yeah, you're right about
Lakers won.
Jameer definitely.
Jameer went 2 months without playing, and then you go back to him in the playoffs.
Right.
In the finals.
So I don't think anything they could have done could have helped them win that series, but I think that they definitely competed because every game was close. I think there might have been one blowout.
The first game was 75-100, and everything else was within. The biggest discrepancy was obviously the last game. I'm sure it came out of free throws, which was 13, but everything else was 5-4-5.
Right.
So do you think that a better analogy for Phil in Chicago and Phil in LA, instead of being like Frank Vogel in LA, right, would be Steve Kerr in Golden State with a bunch of really good players that he turns into an unstoppable killing machine of an NBA franchise.
The first one, but not the KD one. The KD one was just unfair.
Yeah, now he's in Brooklyn though, so.
Yeah. What I was going to say earlier about coaching when we were talking about Nick Nurse, the true test and the measure of a good coach in the NBA is making your elite talent like 1% better, but it's really how much you can utilize and make better your secondary and tertiary players. And that's what Nick Nurse one, he can find talent, and two, the way he can improve those secondary players. Because Kawhi was Kawhi in Toronto. He just did what he did, and he's elite on both ends of the floor.
Boardman gets paid.
Yeah. But what he did with everyone else and their ability to, one, acquire Marc Gasol helped. But if you see the way Van Vliet just took off, and Anunoby took off, and Siakam took off, and it's just like that's where you see the true measure of a coach.
Then you gotta give credit to the GM as well, because really the best franchises, organizations, those dynasty, a lot of it has to do with a GM who knows what they're doing, is on the same page with the coach, knows the type of players they like, and puts those players in the system. Like when we got the number 1 seed that year, the biggest thing was Danny Ferry knew exactly how Coach Budenholzer coached, and he put players in his system that fit exactly what the style of player he liked or what he needed.
So like,
hold on.
I like to think about what Nick Nurse is doing and compare it with Pop, right? Like Popovich won a lot, and I think he even won titles with arguably only one really good player at any given time, right? So like he had Timmy. Who's the second?
Ginobili and Tony Parker, both
Tony Parker. Tony Parker was an MVP.
And Ginobili. Don't forget about 6 man of the year.
David Robinson was there for the first one, but
but he also turned Danny Green, Boris Diaw. There's
wasn't Barbosa? Was Barbosa on this part? No. Was it?
Very shortly
Phoenix?
it was.
Okay, shortly.
Yeah, Pop took all these guys, and but when that first line, when that first part of the rotation hit the bench, they didn't let off, right?
No.
So LeBron, the Lakers have got how many All-Stars start for the Lakers right now?
2.
Just 2. You don't think Kuzma's a
hell no?
Okay, and then they
I
go
don't
to
think you've kept up with Kuzma this season. He's fucking disappeared.
Well, like I said, I watched the first Lakers game.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't watch this because I can't root for LeBron. I just can't do it. I want to, I can't. But you see stuff like the LeBron James method of team building. And Rob Pelinka was an agent. So Rob Pelinka is there to build LeBron James's team, right? The LeBron James method of team building is, let's bring all of my friends who are really good players to this team, and they take a ton of money, and then everybody else can just be like J.R. Smith,
right?
And we're gonna force our way to championships. But that only really worked once.
Twice. Well, what are you talking about? The Miami one?
No. Because the Miami ones, he had Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, right. And they were well coached by Eric Spoelstra.
Don't forget Mario Chalmers, man.
I'm just saying that Dwayne Wade won a chip without LeBron, right? Dwayne Wade is the Hall of Famer, right? Chris Bosh, if he didn't have his pulmonary or cardiac issues,
blood clots.
Yeah, clots.
That dude is unbelievable. And LeBron was actually probably the least important part of that team as far as mechanics go. And Spoelstra was a good coach. So Spoelstra, when LeBron, Bosh, and Wade weren't on the floor, still managed to get production out of that team, right? So those championships, I think, were earned more on the strength of the team than in Cleveland, where it was LeBron and he made Kevin Love come and he had Kyrie and, then he dragged them to the championship. And since it hasn't worked for Bron, right? Like, I don't understand why. I think the lesson that Jeannie Buss took from having Kobe on the Lakers was that we need to have the greatest player on the planet play for the team. When in reality, it's not that at all. I think it has way more to do with coaching, especially in the NBA. Like, we've talked about how the players have so much control in the NBA and superstars have so much control in the NBA and like how refreshing that is, right? But the downside is that I actually think coaching is more important in the NBA than in any other major sports league on the planet.
Maybe not football, because
that's the one thing I thought too.
Football is literally just like tell them where to go,
X's and O's all day long, and then you have your occasional guys that break outside the X's and O's, like your Aaron Rodgers, and like the speed of Chris Johnson was not an X's and O's things. Yeah, but Lamar Jackson is not an X. Like, you can't scheme that, but I think
I partially agree though.
Going back, what made Golden State so good was the coaching. Was their ability that he said, he looked at each one of those superstars, like, I don't care who you are, we're going to pick and switch everybody. Well, Steph, you're a liability, but we're picking and switching everything.
That also that mentality started with Mark Jackson,
right?
The
so
defensive mentality started with him. Yeah.
He instilled the defensive side of them, but he wasn't good enough on the offensive end to get them deep into the playoffs.
That pop Phil motion philosophy helped.
Steve Kerr brought that philosophy there offensively, and then next thing you know, mixed Phil Jackson's defensive philosophy. Mark Jackson's defensive philosophy with the pop Phil Jackson offensive philosophies, and boom, you have this ridiculously efficient, great basketball team.
They're moving the ball. They move the ball very well. And I think that they would be next to unstoppable even without Steph being able to score from anywhere on the court. Like, you just add the fact that this guy's just got, like, his stroke is just like he just lights out, especially when he really catches fire, it does the little shimmy.
But I totally agree with what you're saying though, in terms of how important coaching is in the NBA. But I don't think I'd go as far to say it's the most important in sports. But I think what is important is not only to have the best player, but have your player completely buy in to what your coach is putting out. Because you look at the Raptors, they want it. You know what I mean? When you watch them play, every single player on that team comes into the game wanting it. They're not uncertain about their role. They're not uncertain about who they're supposed to defend. Whereas you look at someone like the Lakers, LeBron's just like, they're looking over at LeBron. He's twiddling his thumbs, and then they're like, oh, well, did I mess up? Oh, my bad. LeBron doesn't even care.
LeBron's not going to put me in the lineup next week.
Right.
I think another team that's a great example of having stars and superstars buy in is Boston. Because, 1 through 5, you've got stars and all-stars on that team. Kemba Walker, Brown, Tatum, Gordon Hayward. I guess Robert Williams is starting at center now for him. I'm not really sure.
1 through 4, we could say.
Yeah, so 1 through 4, you've got all-stars.
Yeah.
You've got guys who have done it and who have said, you know what, I can average 25 points a game in this league. But, he's doing a great job up there.
Brad Stevens, I think, is somehow underrated.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because he, just like Bud, had to go through LeBron every year in the East.
He needs a chip first.
Yeah, I think Brad Stevens and Billy Donovan are both, I think, deserve more credit. More Brad Stevens than Billy Donovan. I'm still kind of on the fence about Billy Donovan.
Billy had the squad and couldn't get it done. But it was also Westbrook, though.
Yeah, it was also.
My thing with Brad Stevens is he's got the Paul Pierce curse to go on along with that. They won game 1 against the Bucks last year. This series is over. Next thing you know, they go home.
I'm super interested to see what the Bucks do because I have a Budenholzer theory that is slightly related to my Shanahan theory, and I'm gonna pull it out in like a week, and we can talk about it next week. I'll see how it goes.
You'll see how the Bucks.
I could guess it. Maybe I won't now.
You can get him there, but he's not going to be able to win it.
Well, he's like I described Mark Jackson, really good in defensive scheming, but offensively, when you can take away his number one threat, which is Giannis, or even slow him
Kyle
down,
Korver.
He legitimately has no other plan on how to beat. But it was like when in Atlanta, when we weren't knocking down threes, it was just like there was no adjustments on the offensive end to me.
Because there was no talent.
Yeah, I think it's a little different story when you're talking about five backup players.
I mean, I agree with that to an extent, but it's
MVT like that. Don't you do that to me?
What?
Double zeros.
Well, I mean, it's some coaches are good with making adjustments on the fly, and it's like, all right, if they're taking this away, then do this, make this adjustment to get something. But it was just like last year. But last year against Toronto, you're up to 2 games. They were up 2-0, and they put Kawhi on Giannis, and and basically the series was over.
Well, I'm gonna push back on that Coach Bud thing and I'll use some incidences from this tournament. So I don't think it's a limitation on Coach Bud's coaching. I think it's a limitation on personnel because literally in that game where they lost, I forget who they were playing. It wasn't Brooklyn because they didn't really try in that game, but the game before that where they lost, there was so many. It was against Houston. There were so many opportunities to win that game. Chris Middleton had 3 point-blank opportunities to win that game, and he missed every single shot. And then Giannis can't shoot. So it's like the fact that Coach Bud can always take these teams that his personnel is like on most other teams, people would look past all these players and still always have them in the 1-2 spot in whatever conference he's in. Well, he's only been the East so far, but I think Coach Bud is an amazing coach. Like him, Nick Nurse, Donovan, and Boston guy. Like those are, besides Pop, obviously.
Yeah, that's the Popovich influence, Owen.
Right.
How did you just put Bud on the same level as Nick Nurse, who won a chip and is currently successfully defending that championship despite losing his best player, versus Bud, who got swept by the Cavs after going undefeated in January?
Well, that's because our MVP went down. Deladova took down our MVP.
Diving at knees. He took out 2 players, 2 very important players. The police took out
another.
Oh my God. Cephalosha. That's actually why I wanted to fund the police, is because of Tabo. I haven't forgiven them.
You got paid though.
real quick break. The Braves are up 3-1 over Toronto, and Tukey is dealing. It's top of the 6th. Tukey has given up 2 hits, 1 run on a homer with 8 Ks.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
He's got the stuff to be a number 1 guy.
I always like Tukey.
And Dansby is leading the league in RBI.
Dan's
the man. I was just watching the other day and I saw Austin Riley come up and smack it with a full count out the park. That was amazing.
That's a big boy.
With a real baby face. Like he has such a little boy face.
Back to the NBA, because we're going to talk about baseball in a little bit. So the worst part of watching the NBA's restart is the Mark Jackson, Van Gundy commentary lineup.
My friend brought some food over, and he told me that he's never eaten leftovers in his life. And I was like, It's like, Mark, shut the fuck up and talk about basketball.
So who's their play-by-play?
It's Jeff and Mark, or who are you talking about?
No, the play-by-play, because Mark and Jeff are there for color.
Yeah, I forget his name.
No. One of those two is. I thought it was one of those. They're both color.
They've got to have 3 guys in there because neither Van Gundy or Mark Jackson are good enough to be a color commentator. So they've got to have so it'll be like LeBron's pushing up the floor. There he goes. He shoots 3 and it's a brick. And Mark Jackson's like, you know what, Van Gundy? You're ugly. And Van Gundy, oh yeah, well, that's not what your mom said. My mom said I'm handsome.
It's like, Coach, tell me what you think it's like when you have to travel on the road and you're out of Twinkies on the plane ride. It's like, what the hell are you talking about?
It's there. They are. The entire ESPN, the ESPN broadcast, when I see a game pop up, because I just turn on my Apple TV app, and I'm swipe over to the sports tab. I'm like, what's the sports? And it's like, hey, check out this cool game. I was like, what did Ryan just do?
Our Twitter is activated.
Hey,
We're back.
We are not a child.
Right. So I swipe over and I see this game. I'm like, ooh, this looks juicy. And I pull it up and it's ESPN. I automatically go, ah! Oh my God. It's just it's bad. But the best part about the NBA restart for me is watching some of these teams move the fucking basketball. Houston is looking for the extra pass constantly, and it is really cool to watch. Toronto is moving the ball everywhere. That shit is just you know what I mean? OKC looks really, really fun with Chris Paul, especially because Chris Paul, now that he doesn't have a black hole of scoring like James Harden, can actually play point guard, and his vision is just sick. It's just nasty. Micah, what has been your favorite part of the restart for the NBA so far, besides having actual live sports to watch?
So, earlier on, it was either the first or the second podcast, we talked about our own backup NBA team, and one of my guys, Michael Porter Jr., I mentioned him on that list. Well, he is finally starting to get some play time, and he's been balling. He put up with 32 last night with 15 rebounds, and with 34 the night before that. So it's like, dude, you finally give this guy a chance to play, and he is showing out. Now I just need to see Bo get some more reps in the actual games, and it'll be.
I would
Anyone
say
know any Knicks fans?
MPJ is he's pretty sick, but I think that's because he's anti-vaccine.
Oh yeah, he did. He had to drop his little gem in there.
Sorry, man.
I think it's just a distraction.
It's a cute, the QAnon All-Star team. I just can't anytime I see that stuff, I just automatically I don't care how it's sort of like steroids, right? Barry Bonds was really good before he roided, right? Yeah. But I don't care anymore because he roided.
What, really? We got to have that discussion one day, because I don't think
everything gets washed away as soon as Mark McGwire. I remember growing up a Cubs fan, watching Mark McGwire come in and because the Cubs and the Cards would play constantly. Watching Mark McGwire come up and just being like, fuck, And then he started roiding, and now I don't have to worry about it anymore because his whole.
What about LeBron?
What about LeBron?
LeBron was on the list. He was on the roid list.
Is this like the Epstein flight log that somebody?
Oh my God!
You're just like Chrissy Teigen. She says she would die for pizza, which I would also, hyperbolically.
Not what she said. That's not what she said.
She said she would go to jail for pizza.
Yeah.
This is all this whole podcast is actually just a chance for me to throw veiled threats against Marco and let him know how I feel about it.
No, but for real though, LeBron was on the list of all the people who got busted for steroids. Obviously, the NBA.
I don't like LeBron anyway. We were just talking about that. We just talked about how I tried to like LeBron. I acknowledge his greatness. I tried to like watching LeBron James play basketball for a solid week, right? Every time I turn the Lakers on, I'm like, I'm going to root for LeBron. I'm going to root for the Lakers. And I end up cheering whatever team they're playing without fail. And like that never happened with Kobe. Never. I would turn a Lakers game on. I'd just be like, "Fuck yes, Kobe!" You know. But it's just something about LeBron that just like makes me mad. It's like Tom Brady. You know, like I turn on a Patriots game and the Pats are playing the Saints, and I just end up not watching anymore.
Yeah.
I just
throw my TV out the window.
Can't root for the Saints. Just turn the TV off.
I can't do it. Like Jessica's like, "You don't want to watch the football game?" I was like, "It is physically making me sick. I can't do it." Marco, what's your favorite part about the restart, bro?
So I wanted to comment real quick about what you had said about the ball movement, and I think that like what I've been seeing a lot though is like it's almost the opposite of that. It's like the fact that I've seen so many players in this restart have wide open layups and still swing it to the corner. Like I saw Joe Ingles himself do that like 5 times in one quarter in the last game. Obviously, Westbrook does it a ton. Like it's like why do players pass up so many? Is it analytics that make players do this?
Joe Ingles never that's one of the things that they've talked about him is if you give him a lane, he looks to pass. He's afraid to. I mean, you've seen the guy; he's not athletic at all.
Westbrook
He don't want to pull a Simon.
Just
That's a story for off air.
Are you talking about? Is that you always tell a story like threw it over the backboard or something?
Invisible Dwight Howard swatted him and the ball the opposite direction of the goal.
Bazemore did like almost that same
It'll
thing.
get edited.
He was like literally standing right next to the basket. He just launches it rainbow.
So hold on. But you know what?
I'm not going to talk a lot of smack. I'm not going to do it. Some white people are built for basketball, right? Like if you're Eastern European because you used to be African, you know, because didn't Marco send us like an article that was like, nah, man, like the Caucasus Mountains, man, they used to be black, man. I don't know.
I never said that. I never said that article.
Listen, all those Eastern European dudes can ball, right? They can ball.
Luka.
And then there's like 10 of them right now. And then there's like 3 normal like European descent white dudes who can ball. Steve Kerr can ball.
Tyler Hero.
Right? Larry Bird. Right?
Tyler Hero's a bucket.
But white people cannot
And Duncan.
play basketball. White men, at least. White women, it's different. But like Ryan, like I would say Ryan was one of the more basketball athletic sort of dudes that I met, and like it destroyed his body.
It won.
Ellington and I played one-on-one 6 years ago or something like that before he moved to New York. Like we were just like, let's go hoop, right? I got smushed.
I want to do the 2v2. I feel like me and Lionel versus Ryan and Micah, we should do that one day and record it.
Actually, I really like the cat. I think this is good because I would just chuck the 3 ball up because analytics. You know the
Who's
reason
guarding Micah in the post?
I don't know. I'll have the ball the whole time, so it won't matter.
He's not gonna pass. I don't pass.
Or miss. No, I'll get you the ball. I'll have a triple double.
I'm just gonna chuck it up. I think I'm Klay Thompson.
Hey, Ryan.
We're the same skin tone, so that's why I think that.
Marco's never been accidentally fouled by me before.
We're gonna need a ref.
Yeah, we're gonna need a ref for sure.
You're gonna need casts too. If you go to the bucket on Micah, you remember how Micah loves hard fouling basketball. It's not a joke. It's not something that Micah just talks about. Micah will
I'm not gonna take a layup. Jumpers, man.
When I accidentally James Harrison Ryan, he tried to go up and under. He got me in the air, and I swiped down.
I go and my arm got here, and Micah's arm got here, and my arm just went.
That's actually
the ball didn't go. I was like.
That's actually the injury that got Ryan kicked out of the army. It was actually then. It wasn't like when he fell. It was Micah.
Micah karate chopping me in my bone. Yeah,
like all Ryan needed was like the wind to blow the wrong way, and his whole shoulder exploded after that.
For real.
See, me and Marco, our game plan since we're small, and probably pretty quick, is
well, Marco's quick.
We might only be shooting like 15% from 3, right? But it doesn't matter when we're chucking up 200 3 balls. So
right.
It's all about volume.
Quantity.
Dollar, listen to me. Just because I'm not doing like step aerobics in my skin color leggings on Facebook doesn't mean that I'm not fast. All right.
So many people were like, "You need a tan." I'm like, I do, but those aren't my legs. I'm not made of paper.
You know, Ryan talks a lot of smack for somebody, talks a lot of smack to a Marine who learned how to shoot at 500 yards with no scope, as somebody who did computers in the Army. When the coronavirus apocalypse comes, the first thing I'm doing is I'm tagging you in the knee. Just get it from like a half mile out, just like Carlos Hathcocking you.
When's the last time you've shot at range?
Now who's slow, bitch? Everybody's fast till they get shot in the leg. I'm not going to shoot Ryan. I love him. I'm not going to do it unless he continues to slander my speed on the podcast.
Oh yeah, but what do I like about basketball? About this restart? Sorry,
hurry up, dude.
I went so far. Now that I'm on the spot, I don't even know what I like about it. No, my favorite part is just the fact that it's back, and I just love good competitive basketball. A lot of these games have been competitive, and my favorite part's definitely been D-Book stepping onto the scene and people finally sort of appreciating, how well polished his offensive game is. Like, that guy is incredible.
So Ryan,
my first favorite thing is Payless Kawhi Leonard, and that's TJ Warren, just lighting everybody up. I don't know what TJ Warren did during this quarantine time, but good God.
You know what he got traded for?
Cash considerations.
Cash considerations.
Man. But then also it's been the team that I've caught the most of has been the Mavericks. And they are just so fun to watch, man. Luka Doncic is a basketball god. At the end of his career, if he stays healthy and he stays at this arc, he's going to be a top 5 player in the NBA history. I mean, he's 21.
He's putting up numbers like that. Might be number 1.
31, 20, and 15 at 21 years old. And these teams are playing hard. They're trying to get into the playoffs. And he's just like, nah, whatever. This is easy.
Playoffs.
I would worry about Doncic's health long term, honestly.
Which part, though? He seems like somebody to me that would probably stay healthy.
Yeah, he's thick-bodied. He doesn't really do a whole lot. Like, he'll die on the floor, but he's not like trying to play away from the rim.
Contact.
So I already told you that Mark Jackson was like my least favorite part about this. I think the second least favorite part about this for me is that the Hawks aren't playing. And the reason I'm saying that is because the Grizzlies are playing, and the Hawks are better than the Grizzlies at this point. Like, we invited the Grizzlies and the Pelicans.
Grizzlies look so bad. I mean, they were a playoff team though.
They lost Triple J though.
Right, but who gives a shit, dude? Like,
yeah.
TJ Warren, like what? Like, who gives a shit? This is Corona ball. You know what I mean? Like, why didn't you just invite the whole fucking league?
The Nets are playing.
I know, right? The Nets are playing.
I don't recognize that team. Who is that?
Right. But this is what I'm saying is, like, invite the whole fucking league, dude. Because, like, even if the Hawks don't make the playoffs magically over, their 8-10 game seeding schedule or whatever, like, you at least give them a chance. Because right now we got to watch Memphis play, and they look like crap.
And they keep putting them on TV for some reason.
Right. Well,
it's Ja.
And then we've got to watch the Nets play, but the Nets beat the Bucks, which I'm enjoying that. But like, the Grizz look bad. Who else looks just
Orlando?
awful?
Oh, I called one. The Jazz look pretty bad.
The Jazz,
Jazz look terrible. Well, they're missing Big B. He's like the whole reason that they were a good 3-point shooting team, and he's not there. So
I'm just mad that the Nets are still going, even though the whole roster that they invited to come isn't there.
Right.
But we are deprived of John Collins, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, Trae Young, Corona ball. Like, I think if anybody could benefit from just shit looking like it's in like a your neighborhood YMCA gym,
Trae.
And like, it's John Collins and Trae Young, dude. Come on. And any chance that we can get to get Lloyd Pierce fired so we can hire Becky. The more games Lloyd Pierce coaches and loses, the faster we get Becky.
He's leading commercials out here, though. I don't know. He might be safe.
He's been the voice for a lot the minorities in the NBA. Essentially, he's been leading that, like on the coaching side.
No, I love his social justice stuff. I don't want him to coach my basketball team.
Simple as that.
Before we get out of this, I want to make a point because we just talked about Doncic, we talked about Trae Young, we talked about Ayton, and how loaded that draft class was. Do you know who was predicted to go number 1 in that draft class before they got injured?
MPJ.
Yeah. So I just let you know how talented that man is.
That was a really good draft class.
Hey, Knicks.
14.
How Hey, Knicks.
The Knicks are bad. Didn't they just are they hiring Jason Kidd?
No, they hired some other guy.
Oh. I guess the only thing that's sort of like tangentially NBA related. Have you guys been watching any of the WNBA games?
I have not. Fill me in.
The Dream are fun to watch. Diana Taurasi is in Phoenix is just nasty, and there's a really good podcast episode about Diana Taurasi and Diana Deladon playing in Europe when they played for Spartak Moscow, I think. I gotta find that podcast too. But their owner died while they were playing. It was super super interesting. Ryan's making a face. What's wrong with you?
Doncic just pivot spin between two people, then Euro stepped him, then no look passed across the court to a wide open 3-pointer.
That sounds like a travel to me.
There was a dribble in there.
It wasn't a travel.
Pivot spin Euro. I didn't hear a dribble hit the ground yet.
No. Unfortunately, he passed it to Trey Burke.
Right, and clanked it.
Okay, sorry. 30 for 30 podcast. I'm gonna save it for my rec. Anyway, the WNBA. It looks like the WNBA. The Atlanta Dream looked pretty good. They've got a rookie point guard as their starter. What's her name? Jackson and I were talking about it. Anyway, they look good. But my favorite
Is Angel back? Is Angel back on the court?
McCautry's in Washington, I think.
Okay.
My favorite part was when Phoenix came to town the other day, the Dream and Phoenix both coming out in Vote Warnock shirts, because Warnock is running against Kelly Loeffler, who you will remember is a part owner of the Atlanta Dream.
Yeah.
My question to Senator Loeffler is, when you bought into ownership of a WNBA team, did you know what the WNBA was ahead of time? Or was this the cheapest sports franchise you could buy into? Because basketball is the wrong sport to say that you shouldn't support Black Lives Matter loudly during. It is, you got the wrong one, Kelly Loeffler. And just because you buy ownership doesn't mean that you own human beings. We don't do that anymore. They can say whatever they want. And I hope you get voted out of office so bad that people forget that you exist.
Right.
Because just looking at her makes me mad. She just makes me mad. Watch WNBA. I'm waiting on my orange hoodie. You know, I ordered that orange hoodie like the day I saw people wearing it. You know, like it was all over social media on opening day for WNBA.
It isn't here yet?
I was like, give me that. They keep sending me emails. They're like, we don't know when your hoodie's getting here. I was like, bitch.
Probably sold out. That was probably the best selling thing the WNBA has probably ever put out.
For sure. But here's my thing. I spent like $50 on that hoodie, and I want it
now
before I need it, which is it's coming up pretty quick, right? So
Yeah.
give it to me.
Real quick about the WNBA though, what was the name of that? She's like the best young player, right? She just came. I think she sprained her ankle pretty bad.
Inoscu.
Mascots. Yeah, she's nasty.
What's her first name? Oh, damn. She came out of Baylor.
Yeah.
Yeah. She went down against Atlanta.
I think it was game 1, right?
No, it was like 2 or 3.
Okay. But she I think in her first game, didn't she put out like some ridiculous stats?
Sabrina Ionescu. She is disgusting. Like she
would serve all of us up.
Yeah, she would cross me out of my, like, you know, even if I wear my Jordans.
Bruh.
Right out of them.
I know firsthand. I played against former WNBA player / European women's player. She played with the guys, and was giving the guys the work. And I mean, coming down, step back, trays in the face. It was just like, bruh. I was like, no, look, I'm not guarding her.
This is the
I'm
thing.
not gonna be that guy.
Guys who complain about like women's sports, right? Like, especially like women's soccer when they're trying to get paid, the same as the men, or like the WNBA. Like, guys are just like, oh, women's sports, girls can't play sports. These, like, the women's national team for the United States for the World Cup probably wouldn't beat the men's national team. Maybe, because the U.S. men's national team is garbage right now, but they might not, right? But they would beat the brakes off of you. Like, so all of these dudes who are like, oh, the WNBA sucks. Motherfucker, I want to see you on a court, right? Because these girls would cross you up. They would make you cry. They would make you become an incel and start a blog talking about how all women should just be locked in a cave. Like, shut up, dude. I would never. It's like female fighters, like guys are just like, girl fight. I would never, because I would get fucking murdered.
Right, like that one chick who was fighting with the freaking brain hemorrhage, like when her face was looking like that. That is tough. Anybody
who is good enough at a sport to get paid for it is better than you at a sport, and right. that's the end of it. I get paid to be a scientist. Marco gets paid to do whatever Marco does. I don't know what Marco does.
No one knows what Marco does.
Micah gets paid to be big, right? These women get paid to play basketball. Like, nobody's going to come. Ryan, you're muted. Nobody's going to come up to me and just be like, oh, I'm going to out molecular biology you because I get paid to do that, right? So, like, shut up, stay in your lane, let the girls play. Fuck.
Hold on. A lot of Trump followers probably think, I read on Google about this, so I know more about you than molecular biology.
If we still have Trumpers listening to this podcast by this point, I'm actually impressed with their dedication.
That's a very progressive Trumper.
Right. We're 4 dudes in a Zoom call. We only have like 40 plays per episode, right? We didn't see the bunker bump after. Well, we haven't had a new episode since Andy shouted us out, but I'm looking for the bunker bump, right? Like, if somebody's still a Trumper and they're still listening to this podcast, why are you doing that? Because we drag you. It's like every 5 minutes, I find a way of dragging someone who's voted for Donald Trump. It's a passion project of mine. All right, we're gonna head to the break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about some baseball, including our losers of the week, who I'm very excited to talk about. We'll also talk a little bit about why the Braves exist still, and what are they doing to us. And probably some other baseball-y sort of things. So, see you in a minute. Welcome back from the break, everybody. This is the Fish and Grits podcast. Fish and Grits, the podcast, if you will. Part 2 is going to be a little bit mostly about Major League Baseball, I think, since they're playing. I think we want to give some time to talk, especially I know Mike has got thoughts about Major League Baseball. But I want to touch on just a little bit of football news. So Doug Peterson's got the Rona.
Doug.
And Jack Del Rio has had some thoughts about coronavirus, of course, whatever. But there's 2 major pieces of news. The first one is that the Falcons re-signed J.J. Wilcox. I think that's who it was, the safety, who used to play in Dallas. He blew his ACL out in training camp last year. We re-signed him. Hopefully he doesn't blow his ACL out at training camp this year. Julio Jones looks fast as fuck. I think we shared that video.
Oh my God.
Todd Gurley and Julio both catching passes. We see Todd Gurley and we're like, oh yeah, that was a good route. Those are good hands, Todd. Good. And then Julio runs so fast that the camera dude has to catch up with him. Right. Oh shit. The camera guy, whoever was recording that forgot how fast Julio was.
I don't even think that was full speed. I think
no, he's in t-shirt and shorts, man.
Right.
he's not a full power. Julio Jones, I can't believe it. Did you guys hear what happened in Vegas? I think it was Vegas. Hold on.
What Gruden did?
Yeah.
Oh my God,
So-
what a goof.
Jon Gruden faked having coronavirus to teach his team a lesson.
This could happen anytime, guys. So you got to be ready for the corona whenever it strikes.
Man, that corona can hit at any time, guys.
This shit,
It's like a spider too wide banana.
this shit feels made up. Like, I really want to have a show that's like The Office, but set in the NFL, because I feel like this is what like Jon Gruden is Michael Scott.
Yeah.
You know, like it feels like one of those episodes that you would have where like everyone's at like the funeral and like Jon Gruden's in like the open casket and like Derek Carr's crying and somebody else is like, man, I wish Amari Cooper was here because he actually really liked him. And, you know, like all this shit's happening, and then Jon Gruden sits up and he's just like, see, I told you guys, you gotta be prepared for the unexpected. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Hope you learned a lesson today, guys.
Jon Gruden sits up and goes, parkour.
He like pulls an Undertaker, you know. I just like I think we need to pitch like, it's sort of like how I don't know if you guys like cartoons, but you know, Teen Titans used to be like an action show, right? And then they switched the format. They rebooted the show with the same creative team, the same voice cast and everything. But now it's Teen Titans Go, and it's like what happens in between the missions, and they're just idiots.
Just
And
chill.
it's so funny. I would love to watch a mockumentary, like Hard Knock style sitcom of an NFL team in between the game weeks. I don't want to see any like game footage. I want to see them at like film study, training camp, the coach doing dumb shit like this. HBO, if you're listening, I don't even cut. I don't even need to be in the credits. Just give me the show. You can have the idea. I just want to watch it because I want to watch someone do this Jon Gruden thing and have everybody who watches HBO be like, that's so unrealistic. It's like based on a true event. It could actually just be about the Raiders. Actually, you know what? Just film the Raiders. You don't even have to have a script.
That's sort of like Ballers. I mean, there's no actual football in Ballers.
Why do you guys keep bringing up Ballers? Oh, yeah. The Rock bought the XFL.
Oh, yeah.
XFL.
I know, right? Isn't that awesome?
Cool.
It's the Strathmore.
We'll see.
Cool. Man, you know, XFL was actually kind of fun to watch. You saw both Cardale Joneses during the XFL season. You saw Ohio State Cardale Jones, and then you saw the Buffalo Bills Cardale Jones.
The worst part of the XFL was the fact that whoever did their highlights and like put together their social media failed so bad because every single clip would be empty stadiums. It showed like one fan. Then it'd be like, why would you put that in a highlight package?
You just got to do it on like they should have done it on like the WWE network, you know what I mean? And like just not have fans.
Right.
You know, like, or like do it in like a small arena instead of trying to replicate the NFL. Like try to replicate the Arena League because those games were fun as fuck.
Yeah.
Right. Man, yeah, XFL, man. Oh, speaking of this is going to be a good tie-in. I'm glad I thought of this. Speaking of social media, Marco, one of my favorite things about modern sports is how they're letting social media teams just go nuts, right? Like reply to people, make fun of them, make jokes. You know, during the NWSL Cup, the Orlando Pride couldn't participate because all their players had COVID, or a bunch of their players had COVID. So their account turned into a stan account where they would hold a poll. She'd be like, who are we standing for this game? Well, then it turned into the Orlando curse, right? So like they started getting blocked by the other teams. And so they would post screenshots of them being blocked, and they would just be like, we still love you. And then for the hold on a second. Hey Siri, turn off the bedroom TV. Sorry, Tuck rolled over onto my remote and turned the TV back on. Okay, so for the knockout rounds, they brought in their social media director who burned sage on like camera. It was just like, there's no more curse. And it was super funny, super good fan engagement. My favorite example of this is the recent Cincinnati Reds Cleveland Indians series in Major League Baseball. Cincinnati posted a picture that said, Cleveland, City's so nice, LeBron left it twice. So then the Indians' official account came back and was like, how many wins does your NBA franchise have? And then the Cincinnati account replied with, they've never been beaten. And the Indians replied, go have some of your meat pasta or whatever you call it. Skyline chili, right? And like people were like, aren't you technically in Kentucky? And someone was like, let me help you with that. Like the account was like replying to people making fun of like just fans. And I love that shit. And I've seen some really funny shit on the during the Major League Baseball season, like in the background. I don't know if you guys have been watching this, but like Blooper, the Braves mascot. We got to talk about the Braves mascot eventually. I have feelings. But Blooper's like messing with people, like the cardboard cutouts and stuff. Like he's like trying to feed them popcorn. He's trying to play catch with them. He's just like fucking around in the background. Like he's still walking around the stadium, right?
The first time I noticed him, I was watching and I was like, what is that behind home plate? And he was wearing a Santa outfit and a giant present on his head. And I was like, what is behind home plate? And then he stands up like, oh, the fuck?
So you've got that. You've got the Kansas City Royals mascot put a Royals jersey on the cutout of Marlins man, like during the game. So like you're watching like the game, like the batters are like, and in the background you just see like this like cutout of a KC jersey come down like onto the mascots in the background just fucking off, and it is hilarious, right? Like. I love it. Big ups to Major League Baseball for letting their mascots just do whatever the fuck they want in the background. I'm 100% in. The Braves have got to do a better job with mascots, though. So, like, Chief Nakahoma, he's out. So we did Homer, the home run ball, who's just a Walmart brand Mr. Met. We got rid of Homer, and then we brought in Blooper, who's a Big Lots brand version of the Philly Fanatic.
Yeah.
So next we're gonna have a fish, like a striper, right? It's just that it's like at least in Gwinnett, right? They have Chopper, who's modeled after Chipper, right? He's got Chipper's goatee, but he's Chopper, and he's a groundhog because a chopper is a ground ball. Like it makes sense. But the Braves are like, check out Blooper. He's not the Philly Fanatic.
Right, he's a brown Philly fanatic.
He's a completely different color.
You know that
He lost weight.
the Philly Fanatic's mom gave birth to Blooper and was immediately left by the Philly Fanatic's dad.
Peace, I'm out.
Because he didn't come out green. He came out tan. That's a little...
Oof.
Chopper is a little creepy, but I like him better than Blooper.
Chopper is hilarious. If you ever get a chance, if we ever get to have a Stripers game again, Chopper's on the all-time list. He keeps winning like awards for like best mascot too, which is pretty.
We should bring Chopper on the show.
So let's talk a little bit about baseball really quick. I'm going to open it with telling you all about our losers of the week. I chose our losers of the week this week. So the Astros are in first place in the West, in the AL West. And they're like scoring a ton of runs and they're really, really great. Which is fine. You know, was it Dusty Baker's their manager right now?
I don't know if he's the manager.
I don't honestly know who their manager is.
He is. Anyway, so if you guys haven't been paying attention, the Astros cheated.
Yeah, Dusty Baker.
Yeah, the Astros cheated and everyone hates them. So there are Twitter accounts that have like that talk about all the times that the Astros players get pinged, right? Get beamed with balls, which is great. It's fantastic. Last night's game, the Diamondbacks bullpen gave them the finger as they left the field. The umpires are not giving any warnings for people who are getting hit by pitches. They're just not doing it. So they're zeroing in on really three Astros players. It's George Springer, Jose Altuve, and Alex Bregman. Those are the
biggest
three
cheaters, right?
Yeah. Those are the three who are getting just decked, right?
Massacred.
In the 2-game season against the Dodgers, you'll remember that the Dodgers, so was it Springer who won the MVP that year or Altuve? One of them stole the MVP from Aaron Judge, right? And then they stole a World Series from the Dodgers, and is one of the reasons why we don't talk about Clayton Kershaw the way that we should be, right? Because he got beat up in the series, right? The 2-game season against the Dodgers last week, Springer, Altuve, and Bregman went 0 for 21 at the plate. Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, and George Springer are hitting a combined .184 with a .677 OPS.
Oh, man.
And now here are some splits. 11 games into the season, Jose Altuve's batting average in 2015 was a .289, 2016 .295, 2017 .326, 2018 .357, 2019 .279, and he is hitting 146 this year.
Let's
11
go.
games in. Ladies and gentlemen, your losers of the week are George Springer, Jose Altuve, and Alex Bregman. It's a lot harder to play baseball when you don't know what the pitches are before they come.
Right.
Oh, it's also really funny to watch Altuve like lose his mind at the plate when he strikes out. He's been like throwing his bat and he's like pouting. And what's his name? Kelly, who got suspended 8 games for pouting at him and for like whatever. Madison Bumgarner plunked all 3 of them the other night. It was just like, nope, whack, and like that's how you can tell. That's how you can tell that things are, there's only one thing that will unite America in this day and age, and that's hating the Astros, because Dodgers, Diamondbacks, and Giants fans all agree that the Astros suck, and they're all rooting for each other to beat the Astros when they play them. That's the only thing that will unite America. It's not Donald Trump. It's not Joe Biden. It's hating the Astros.
Have y'all seen that Kershaw commercial?
Mm-mm.
Oh, where he's like, he drives like the Aston Martin first. Then he
Yeah.
switches like a Jeep and then like a Beamer to like catch a fly ball.
Then just gives it to a little girl.
Yeah. It's a Hankook tire commercial. It's a
Yeah.
dumb commercial.
It doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Like, why is he fielding his own ball?
Commercial logic. The Braves are in second place. The
Miami tied 3-3.
The Miami Marlins are in first place because the Miami Marlins have played 6 games and they've won 5 of them. So they have like 5 games in hand against the Braves, but because their winning percentage is higher, it's super, super high. They're in first place, and the Braves are like somehow like 3 games back, even though the Braves have played 6 games more than the Marlins because the Marlins all got Rona because they're fucking stupid. Baseball is weird, man.
You see Derek Jeter was trying to like cap for them. He was like, nah, they weren't, partying. They were just like going, getting milk from the store.
Yeah.
And, they weren't all around Atlanta. They weren't.
Did he forget about the pictures and the videos?
Yeah, I think so.
No, that was just reminiscing.
Oh, man.
That was from last
Throwback
year.
to Jack Harlow.
Yeah.
Bro, I go to Kroger every once in a while, and like I haven't gotten the Rona yet.
Neither have I.
And I live here. Like I'm not just here. Like I wonder if the Rona is gonna be the new like nasty girl thing. You know what I mean? Like people are just like, oh, you got the Rona, you must have been hanging out with Tiffany. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so the Braves look fine, right? We lost Soroka to Achilles. His Achilles exploded, which sucks. Fried looks good.
Good.
Newcomb looks okay.
He was dueling. It was a duel. So
Yeah.
I can't judge him just on that game, but he looked okay considering.
Yeah. It was 2-1, right?
Yeah.
Tukey looks young. I think the thing about this pitching staff is that they're young, right? So like Soroka was really good and shouldn't have been because he's so young. Like he was dueling with Jacob deGrom and it was a 1-0 game, right? Like, and deGrom's the best pitcher in baseball. But the rest of the pitching staff looks really young. I think the thing that's been surprising me is, and the offense is what we thought it was. Like they scored like 14 the other day, or they were just pinging the Blue Jays, like just ruining their lives. And then it was 2-1 last night. So like the offense is super streaky. Dansby surprised me. he's hitting above 300. And he's leading the league in
It's
RBI.
like 380, isn't he?
Yeah, he's really good defensively right now. Ozzy looks like he's out for a couple of weeks, so there's that. But he's our
It's a wrist issue.
Camargo looks clutch.
Yep. I
Ozuna
love the chains. I love how they all be rocking chains. They make baseball look cool.
Ozuna looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Riley looks good.
When he makes contact.
Right, but like I said, like we were talking about before the season started here on the podcast, like the offense is going to be streaky because it's all bomb hitters, right? They're striking out more than almost anyone in baseball. Our number one hitter is a home run guy, right? Like Ronnie should be batting cleanup on any other team. Like we don't have contact hitters. We don't have like a Michael Bourne, Ronnie will steal a base. Like, watching him run against the Blue Jays has been a lot of fun, but we don't have like any small ball guys, right? But I think the bullpen to me has been the biggest pleasant surprise because outside of like a Luke Jackson meltdown, those like middle inning relievers have looked pretty good.
Yeah.
They also all look the same.
Magic has been on fire.
So
right now.
I want to let Micah sort of tee off a little bit and sort of give us his opinions on, now that we're almost a quarter of the way through the Major League Baseball season, which is bananas. What's your takeaway from the Braves? How do you think they look? Are they about what you expected, or are they underperforming, overperforming? And what's your outlook for the rest of the season for them?
So offensively, they're underperforming in my opinion to an extent, because even though we do have those games where we have these really explosive offensive games, we also I think Ronnie has struggled some games. Albies has really struggled lately. Now, granted, you said he's got a wrist injury, but that could affect it. And then Freddie had to take a couple nights off because he's been struggling. So these are three key bats in our lineup that, we're expecting big things from that we haven't exactly gotten consistent production from yet. But overall, I mean, I really like where we're headed, even though Soroka got hurt, which big, that's huge and it sucks. But I think we questioned the whole Cole Hamels move earlier. But what I've been hearing a lot about him working with a lot of these young pitchers and their mentalities in the games, and how trying to teach them how to pitch games and like how to approach batters and so on and so forth. And we're starting to see a lot of these young guys start to develop, even though not sure if they're ready yet. They're starting to look better. Freed's starting to look better. What's Newcomb? Newcomb looked pretty good the other night. Tukey looked great tonight. So, I like where we're headed. The bullpen, Shane Green was nasty last night. Even in the loss, that one inning he pitched, it was just pure nastiness. And I like a lot of the parts. We just got to get a little more consistent at the plate, and the starting pitching has to kind of, once they find their rhythm, hopefully they can find it quickly because not much time left in the season. I think we could really be something special and potentially win and make this a full season, a representative season, as opposed if we lose, doesn't count. It's not representative.
If we don't win the World Series, it doesn't count. Ryan, so started the Major League Baseball season as sort of a skeptic, not just about this format for baseball, but also Major League Baseball in general. They seem to be doing a really bad job at being relevant and being responsible and being enjoyable. And, stuff like Manfred suspending Kelly for 8 games in a 60-game season when none of the Astros players who cheated their way to a championship were punished. I still have a lot of that, but I've been finding myself sucked into, it's sort of like, that line from The Sopranos, just when I thought they were out, they pulled me back in. I find myself getting sucked back in because it's the Braves, but also because, like, at the end of the day, if I can watch Van Gundy and Mark Jackson talk about basketball or watch the Braves, I don't want my brain to work super hard. I'm going to choose the Braves, right? Because at least then I don't have to listen. I can listen to, Chip and Frenchie, right? I still wish that there was I wish I could turn like the announcer voices off like I do on Madden. You know what I mean? Like that natural
Just hear sound, the crowd.
He had one really, really bad one the other night when he was talking about one of the batters. He's like, oh yeah, I forget who it was. It was one of the Blue Jays guys. He's like, yeah, he's got a real New York Twitter handle. And I was expecting something like, well, first I was like, ugh, but I was like, okay, let's hear it. He's like, yeah, his name on Twitter is Johnny Buckets 90. And it's like, Chip, no, don't do that, Chip.
Johnny Bucket.
Johnny Bucket. He busted out the accent and everything.
You can tell Chip is really bored.
This
is another one of those things where, like, I would pay for the MLB TV subscription, right, if they would let me watch it with natural sound.
Right.
Nice.
You can get that for some of the soccer games. You can watch it without the added crowd noise. I just want to listen to the game. I want to hear the players swear at each other or hear Freddie's funny jokes, or like Ronnie yelling at Vlad. Who it was really, yeah, exactly, where he bowed up on him a little bit. I was listening. So that first game against the Blue Jays, they were talking about how just Vlad is just big, right? They're like, he's big. I was like, leave my man Vlad alone. And they're like, they're trying to figure out if he can be a position player in the American League, which I wanted to laugh because, like, the alternative is he plays DH, right? But everybody's going to have a DH. So who cares? But they're like, they move him from third base to first base, so he doesn't have to move as much. And I was like, but I mean, Vlad's a little thick, like he's a little big.
He's not like Prince Fielder big. He's muscular.
Right. And Prince is still playing like in the infield.
Is he? Well, no. Is he still active?
No. What's his name? Panda.
Yeah.
Panda. So like Panda. Remember when Panda broke his belt?
Yeah.
So I just don't like leave Vlad alone. But then I also saw a really funny GIF on the Braves subreddit where it was like Ronnie like walking to second base or walking to first base around Vlad. It's like even Acuna's got to check out the absolute wagon on this guy. I was like,
yeah, that boy thick.
Boy thick. So there's some good and bad, but I've been drawn back into the Braves baseball. But I think part of it is just because it's it's routine, right? But the other part of it is I've been surprised by how much fun they've been to watch. What's your biggest surprise? Like my biggest surprise is obviously, the middle relievers. What's your biggest surprise from what you've seen from the Braves so far? Yeah, Ryan.
I'm going to say it's actually not so much the people performing, it's the people who are actually struggling. Like Acuna and Freddie, and Albies as well. Micah mentioned it earlier that our offense has been struggling and inconsistent. The crazy thing is we still have the number one run scoring offense in the entire major league.
He scored what, like 16, 14, 11, 10.
Yeah, we've really,
those
even with our big bats struggling and not doing what they normally do, because I think Acuna has like one home run right now. Freddie has like two, I think. And the fact that Riley has been, sending them out the yard left and right, but still batting like 140. We're still scoring that many runs. So it's not, I mean, the bullpen, the bullpen doesn't surprise me because we've added all these guys who used to be lockdown closers and we just moved them up earlier into the, the rotation or the bullpen. So that doesn't shock me. I thought we were going to have a damn good bullpen because we struggled with it for so long and invested so much money into it. But I think we'll come along. We're going to need we're going to need Tukey to act like Freed and Freed to act like Soroka if we have any chance to move forward, though.
And Newcomb to act like good Newcomb.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked pretty good, though. I hate the way I just blanked on our manager's name. The way Snitker keeps him to like 80, 60 pitches. And, you'll see Newcomb. Newcomb went out and pitched 4 2/3 yesterday. And Freed was dealing and got yanked in the 5th. And I was shocked to see him let Tukey go 6 1/3. That's not what we used to do, or not what we do anymore, at least. I think we're going to have to start letting these guys go deep and learn.
So who is leading the Braves in home runs right now?
Is it?
I got it right here. I want to see your guess.
Is it Duvall?
Nope.
Austin?
Wait, what's the question?
Marcell Ozuna has three bombs. Then you've got Adams, Duvall, Freeman, Riley, and Swanson each with 2. And then Ronnie, Ozzie, Camargo, Flowers, and Darnaud with 1 each.
God, Acuna just chopped one to short, too. Swung at the second pitch.
As a team,
all right, time machine, man. Keep on giving away the plays.
the Atlanta Braves as a team are 6th in Major League Baseball in home runs.
With these type of struggles.
Well, I think are the Yankees in top 3?
The Yankees are the number 1 team for homers.
Yeah, because Mike Judge has hit like 10 already.
24. The 2 Los Angeles teams, the Angels and the Dodgers, are tied at 2nd with 22. The Twins are at 20. The Cubs are at 19. Your Atlanta Braves are at 18, along with the Reds and the Padres. The batting average, so just like team average for batting average,
We got to be down there.
The Chi Sox are leading with 279. The Mets are at 3rd. The Yankees are at 4th with 257. The Stros are at 251. The Nats are at 243. The Braves are 15th at 232. The Pittsburgh Pirates are dead last at 191.
You got several guys on our team below the Mendoza line right now, so it's not shocking.
I'm not surprised. Marco. So, no, I'm going to ask you a different kind of question.
Okay.
We've got a lot of COVID stuff, a lot of Rona stuff happening with Major League Baseball right now, right? So, like, the Cards have got a bunch of guys. The Marlins and the Phils have both missed a ton of games. The Marlins are at they played 6 games, and Braves are at 13, actually, not counting tonight, so it'll be 14. So, they've got an 8-game lead just as far as, like, games played on both the Marlins and the Phillies. And they're talking about doing 7-inning doubleheaders to solve some of these games, right? And yet another example of how this will not be a representative season unless the Braves win the World Series. How do you feel about the Major League Baseball season? Like, are you going to invest in it because you think that they're actually going to finish it? Or are you kind of feeling kind of like they're cutting a bunch of corners just to say that they're going to get it done, right? Like the 7-inning doubleheader thing might be down to like a 5-inning triple header if they keep having to delay, games and postpone games and stuff like that. Like, what's your general feeling on the state of Major League Baseball right now and how the season's going? I really want to get your emotions.
I mean, as a fan, I guess as long as they're showing it, I try not to concern myself too much with the logistics and because obviously there's a lot of ground to make up with there's like 3 or 4 teams now that haven't played equivalent games, right? It's the Phillies, the Marlins, the Cardinals. Well, whatever it is. So I think until they cancel it, I'm just going to continue to be optimistic, because I just feel like that's their problem. And, so I'm not trying to put too much pressure on my mind as how they're going to work this out, because it looks like a mess, but I'm just hopeful that, the Braves have done a great job staying, keeping away from their T-zones. Remember that, people, don't touch your T-zones. And, like Lionel just did right there. And I'm sure someone else is about to in a couple of seconds. But yeah, I just think I think we'll get it done, and whoever wins is gonna win. But yeah, just perspective wise, yeah, it probably won't mean a lot, just unless we win, of course. But yeah, like I said, I'm just here to watch. I'm not here to judge on how poorly their operations are running.
So we talk a lot about we talk a lot about sports on this podcast, almost exclusively about sports on this podcast. And a lot of the reason why we talk about sports on this podcast is because sports is a hugely important part of modern society everywhere on the planet, right? Like, it doesn't matter where you are. Kids are playing soccer in the desert, like people watch La Liga in Iraq. Russia has a thriving basketball league. Down in Oceania, there's a super rugby league that includes teams from Argentina, South Africa, New Zealand, and Australia, and they play like a season with each other, right? Like they like fly and play each other. Here in the United States, we're so lucky that we've got the best athletes for so many different sports leagues that play here. Like the NHL is the best league in the world, and it's in the United States. Even though the best players might not be here, the league is here. But I think that this coronavirus thing is a good way for us to sort of look at one of the grosser parts of sports, which is that, in the capitalist hellscape that we live in, everything that is enjoyable is monetized, right? Like the CEO of Spotify recently said that artists need to make more music if they want to make money. The days of spending 3 years making an album are over, because now what matters is streams, right?
I can't necessarily argue with that, but it's sad. But I mean,
right, but that's sort of what I'm saying is like we're monetizing the joy out of so much of this stuff. Arsenal recently announced, their players took a 12.5% pay cut with the guarantee that no one would get fired because of the Rona, right? They're going to fire 55 people this year. Their owner, Stan Kroenke, is a billionaire. He could very easily. He owns the Rams. He owns the Avalanche. He owns the Rapids, the MLS franchise. He could very easily cover those 55 salaries. One of the people who's been there for 20 years, he's worked for Arsenal for 20 years. In Major League Soccer, Nashville and Dallas, which were the two teams that had to drop out of MLS's back, which I'm boycotting because Orlando is playing in a semifinal game right now, I think.
Yeah. I saw them on Bovada today.
God, if they get a trophy, I'm going to be fucking furious. That's when I'll decide that the trophy doesn't mean anything. This is Orlando. So Nashville and Dallas didn't play in the MLS's back, and they're going to play each other at the end of August. MLS season's coming back on the 22nd of August. They're going to play in front of 5,000 fans. Major League Baseball, up until, the start of the season, was like, we're going to let fans come into the ballpark because it's money, right? Like, it's all because of money. And I'm kind of grossed out, man. Like Kelly Loeffler, that whole thing. Like, why did you buy into an NBA team? Like, they're one of the most but especially these like smaller leagues like the NWSL and the WNBA, right? Like, they get to be loud about their politics, like just the idea that we're putting people's health at risk. And okay, so circling back, I think Major League Baseball is an excellent test case for the NFL because they have the same kinds of restrictions. Major League Baseball rosters might not be as big as NFL teams, obviously, because the NFL teams go with 53-man, game day roster, but they have the same level of outrageous number of logistics and people that they've got to transport. It might be 50% of the number of people, but they're going to run into the same problems. You can't you can't really bubble an MLB team because it's too many people, right? And sort of like what we were talking about with Coleman, with Brett, right? He was saying that like you can't bubble an NFL team because each NFL team's 100 people. You know, you got 32 of those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And the NFL, and we've talked about this before, the NFL's had a huge head start, and they're talking about playing games in the Benz with fans. Like, because you got to get ticket money, right? But people in this country cannot make smart decisions, right? So like people are like shooting at each other. There's a guy that like shot at a store clerk or an argument over a mask with an AK-47. The police showed up at his door and knocked calmly and arrested him without anyone really. I think he got shot in the butt and he survived because he was Caucasian. But it's, you know, it's shit like that like we are putting people at risk because these billionaire team owners make money off of our recreational activity. And I'm struggling with it, especially with the NFL, because I do not trust the NFL. You know, you guys know from the group chat that I've been having trouble with the NFL for a while anyway, you know, with the concussion stuff and then their domestic violence stuff, how the NFL doesn't care about women, all that. But, you know, I'm having trouble with this because I don't trust the NFL to make the right choice here. And like are people going to have to die after attending an NFL game for anybody to care? You know, or like a college football. Could you fucking imagine an Ole Miss game right now? You think those motherfuckers are wearing masks?
Oh.
UConn canceled their whole season.
Right. Which is huge because they just don't have the money to do that kind of, you know.
Right. But they're still, you know, like the University of Georgia football team is a business. They monetized school pride and school athletics to the point where it's a business. So like you can't cancel the season for the safety of the fans because now you've got business interests.
And I mean the whole town, the whole entire city of Athens will struggle without a football season.
The whole city of Athens is going to struggle when the kids got to get kicked out of their dorms.
Right.
For sure.
You know?
That too.
So like I'm struggling, man. I'm struggling with this because I'm not seeing moral, ethical choices being made across the board. You know, like the NBA did it right. Major League Soccer did it right. But they're not as big as baseball and the NFL. And like I don't know how I'm going to enjoy it if they start like letting fans into the building just because, you know, some Stan Kroenke's got to make his fucking money from his new LA stadium.
It becomes like, so the people I sympathize the most here with, and that I, you know, that I find it, you know, very disturbing is amateur athletes, like, you know, college athletes and high school kids. Like the fact there was on the news the other day, there was literally a kid who just lost both of his parents. It's an Atlanta kid or a Georgia kid. I'm not sure if he literally lost a black kid. He lost both his parents to COVID. And then he was like, he seemed so like not bothered by it. It was a little weird, but he was like, I'm gonna dedicate my season to my parents. And it's like, damn, you're still gonna go out there and play after you lost both your parents? Like, and it's just like these kids don't get any, like I sort of struggle to have too much sympathy for the actual athletes because they themselves probably want fans there too, because their money, yeah, that, you know, their cake is iced by the fans. But, you know, these collegiate kids, like they don't have any other choice. Like they're pretty much forced. They're going to be forced to play, you know, and of course it's in the disguise of, oh, well, I'm aspiring to be a pro athlete, but at the same, they really don't have any other option. Like, and it's really frightening for them.
If your option is to try to make it to the NFL, like if that's like your best shot in life is to try to make it to the NFL. Like there's a kid that was talking about, he wanted to, I forget which team it was. I think it was out in the Big Ten. It was out west. And he was talking about how he wanted to opt out of the season. because of Corona. And his coach was like, okay, aren't you also involved in that group that wants athletes to get paid? And the kid was like, yeah. And coach was like, well, it's going to jeopardize your place on the team next year if you opt out. And sort of like telling him he's not going to get his scholarship.
Was this Iowa? You said it was Iowa?
I don't remember.
That wouldn't be surprising after I
Big Ten got some grimy coaches, man.
I think it was
Penn State.
I think it was Pac-10.
Okay. This is the Pac.
I think it was Pac-10, if I remember.
Yeah, it's just gross, man. And Marco, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because like I was thinking about like the fans, which like I'm not gonna fucking go. It's like miss me with that shit. Like I don't go to the grocery store unless I have to. I'm just not doing that because people are fucking stupid. But those college athletes, my man, like especially the kids who go to schools like Ole Miss. Ole Miss is on my mind because I was just listening to a story about how they finally got rid of the Confederate flag down there. But like Ole Miss or Bama or Georgia, Florida's going to be a fucking nightmare. A lot of these SEC schools, especially because
LSU,
yeah, and like the Midwest is starting to get it too, right? Like it's starting to pop up in the Midwest, so you're going to see stuff like Oklahoma, Kentucky. Michigan, the state of Michigan got the outbreak under control. It's just like the fans who are going to be at these games are college kids who are stupid, right? Who are they're going to go party. They're not going to take it seriously. They shouldn't be expected to take it seriously. They're still children, right?
Then you're yelling at the top of your lungs over people.
Right.
Let's go.
These kids who the only reason why you're making them play, the only reason why the University of Mississippi is having a football season this year is to make money. That's it. It's not because they want their kids to have fun. The University of Georgia is not like, I saw a tweet today that was like, here's one of the coronavirus precautions being taken at the University of Georgia. It's a piece of plexiglass that's painter's taped to a desk, a teacher's desk. That's it. How much is the tuition at UGA?
60.
It's quite a bit.
So like, why you're not having a football season? You're not having a football season for the kids. It's not because of the tradition, because you canceled the Georgia Tech game. 1 second, Ryan, I'll get to you.
No, Mark Hickes just walked us off.
Oh, nice. Welcome back.
Welcome
back, Cake Man. I don't know, man. I just think it's gross. I know that like I'm a socialist when it comes to a whole bunch of things. Like I'm a leftist when it comes to a bunch of stuff. But like usually I like to leave business alone. I just don't think that business should be involved in things like healthcare. But sports stuff is starting. The fact that it is so good for people and it brings people together and it does give us this, emotion and connection that you can't really find almost anywhere else. And the fact that now people saw that and they're like, I bet that can make me rich, unbearably rich, and give me access to a lot of glory holes. It just really grosses me out, especially the thought of Jerry Jones at a glory hole. So, I like to use this podcast as a platform to sort of like talk through the things that I'm thinking and get like feedback from y'all and sort of, figure out where I'm at. I really appreciate you guys letting me soapbox for a second, but I'm struggling a little bit. It's gonna get worse when fans hit those stadiums,
Right.
Yeah.
In the NBA and MLS, I mean, it would have almost been harder for them to fuck it up than get it right, just because like they're set up to isolate. You know what I mean? But like you said, football is the one that I just don't see how it's gonna work. Like, there's no logistical way that could possibly work. Like,
well, and all you got to do is like a big name, like a coach, ends up in the hospital and ends up with nerve damage from this shit.
Like Jon Gruden.
It happened at any time. I was thinking more like Andy
Like
Reid.
Bill Belichick, maybe.
Yeah, somebody like that. It's like, or like a commentator, or like, how about people that work at the stadiums? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
think about like concession folks and stuff like that. What was that guy's name? The old dude that worked at Turner Field. who they brought over to SunTrust. He's like 80-something years old.
Oh.
He was an usher. Micah, you know who I'm talking about. Like, there's this whole thing where
I know the guy. I just don't know his name. I know it, but I know the guy you're talking about.
They got rid of this guy's job when they moved out of Turner Field, but now they're busing him an hour and a half to get to SunTrust Park to make minimum wage as an 80-year-old black man. You know, like,
we're the truest.
Right. Those guys, like those people, you know, the Bud Light guys, like how much money do they make?
Yeah. Well,
They're the
I
ones
mean, think about it. Well, it's like I know they talked about with the Falcons, they're supposed to be allowing 10,000 fans or something, only season ticket holders, which like it's going to encourage somebody to buy season tickets just to go to games. But I mean, concessions folks, think about all the folks that are going to be standing in line in concessions or, I want to buy a jersey.
Got to hit the team store.
In the team store. And it's like, so yeah, I get it. Your ultimate goal is to separate the people or socially distance. But I mean, if I got 3 seats in the 300 section and somebody's right next to me, and they're seeing are you just going to let everybody sit where the hell they want to sit, or are you going to make people go sit according to where their season tickets are? So
also, like when you bring that up, that also like think of like just like the average unruly fan or the average like what like there's people out here who are like more passive than others, right? Like what if you're just sitting here and all of a sudden some loud ass drunk redneck comes and he's just all up in your spot.
Hell yeah,
like,
brother! Just hit that bomb.
Like, excuse me.
My stapler. Can I get my
stapler?
Excuse me. You please the what? And then cough in your face.
Take your mask off. You ain't a bitch. You know who doesn't have to worry about this is the Cincinnati Bengals. So, because they won't have 10,000 fans in the stadium anyway.
The Dolphins.
Business
or the LA Chargers.
The LA Chargers, yeah.
Well, are they in the new stadium this year?
It won't matter.
Because if they were in that soccer stadium, then there's not 10,000 seats there. So
they couldn't even fill that stadium up.
Let's go lightning round. Michael, what's our lightning round question for today, my man?
Okay. So this one, I thought of something I thought would be fairly challenging. So pick either a movie or song, basically a remake or a cover that's better than the original.
All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix is the definitive version of that song.
Bob Dylan sucks.
Even Bob Dylan has said that he will play the Jimi Hendrix version because Jimmy owned that shit. Jimi Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower, that cover is without a doubt the best version of that song.
Okay.
Mako.
Give me a second. I'm trying to think.
Movies and songs included?
Or TV shows, whatever.
It's remake city here, man. Come on. Can't be that hard.
Yeah.
You got like 3 different Spider-Men to choose from.
Yeah.
Those are
Spider-Man.
low-hanging fruit.
Michael, what did you have one in mind?
Yeah. So I actually had a few songs, but I'm just gonna go with my first one that came gut, and I had a movie.
Okay.
So first I'll do the movie. The movie was Inglourious Bastards. I thought Tarantino did a much better job with that, and he made it a lot more entertaining than the original. And the casting was amazing. And as far as songs, this actually might trigger Marco a little bit. I think Earth, Wind, and Fire did a better job on Gotta Get You Into My Life than the Beatles did.
Never heard it.
All right. Well, we'll just have to follow up next week then and see if.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I haven't heard Earth, Wind, and Fire's version.
Bobo, did you get one?
Yeah, I mean, there was one. It's not going to be a big one, but Zach Brown's version of Jolene, not Dolly Parton's Jolene, but Ray LaMontagne had a version of Jolene, and I think his version's better. Zach Brown's done a lot of covers that are really good, though.
I like Zach Brown. Mako.
Oh man, I can't for some reason it's escaping me. I'll go with Nirvana's cover of If You Leave Me, Love Buzz.
It's a good one. Glass Animals did a really good cover of Heart-Shaped Box.
I hate Nirvana covers though, so I'm gonna hate on it. Just like I hate Post Malone.
They did this one for quarantine content. So like they did it on YouTube, and the guy like recorded like how he made it, and they put it out as a cover. It's pretty good. But you know, if Marcos decided he doesn't like it already, then fuck you. A cover or a remake that was significantly worse than the first one. Star Trek Into Darkness is a shitty remake of The Wrath of Khan, and it should have been the first indication that J.J. Abrams should never be handed a movie franchise ever again.
I hate Abrams.
Fuck.
What about, did y'all like the original Ocean's 11 or the new one?
I like the Soderbergh version.
Okay. Yeah,
that's mostly because I like Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Right? Who doesn't like Brad Pitt?
His ex-wives.
Who? Jennifer? Who else was
Jennifer Aniston.
Angelina Jolie.
Angie.
Angelina Jolie's still there? I thought they were together.
No.
Oh man.
I think they're no longer
broke
together.
up.
Yeah, I think they're.
And then he went back to Jennifer, right?
No.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
Did you guys watch Ad Astra?
No, that's on my list.
It's fine. Oh. It's pretty.
I thought that the premise of that movie just seemed sort of stupid, like Brad Pitt saving the world. Huh?
It thinks you're stupid.
I'm sure it did.
It's just it's what's it called? Apocalypse Now, but in space, basically. Worth it for Tommy Lee Jones. All right, let's do recs. I'm gonna do 2 podcast recs. You just sort of rec whatever you want. I'm gonna do 2 podcast recs. My first podcast rec is for Marco specifically, but then everybody else. Dolly Parton's America. So Jad Abumrad, who's one of the hosts of Radiolab, is from Tennessee, and his dad actually treated Dolly Parton after a car accident a few years ago, and like became friends with Dolly Parton. And you know, Dolly doesn't give a lot of interviews. She doesn't do like a lot of like documentary sort of stuff about her life, but Jad managed to do a 9-episode series about Dolly Parton, and the story of how she came up with Jolene in particular was massive. It's incredible. I was a decent Dolly Parton fan before we started. I'm a huge Dolly Parton fan now that I finished that show. It's a really, really, really good show. And they got Rhiannon Gibbons in there, who's from Carolina Chocolate Drops. So they talk a lot about like the history behind country music and some stuff like that. So Dolly Parton's America, that's my first rec. My second rec is an episode of the 30 for 30 podcast, ESPN's 30 for 30 podcast, The Spy Who Signed Me. That's one about Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird playing in the Russian Women's League for basketball. It's like a 45-minute long episode. It is like nail biting, like it's super intense. Really, really good work over there. Of course, you know, the 30 for 30 stuff on ESPN is always top notch. Extends onto their podcast. So that's my rec. Ryan, hit me. Recommend me something, dude.
I'm gonna go a couple books.
Nobody reads.
They're good. They're all audiobooks too. One you reminded me of earlier about how people and the kids were taking jobs was Hillbilly Elegy. And it's I don't know if any of y'all read it. It's about like the disappearing, you know, Blue Ridge Mountains, and all the people who live there, and how their society is crumbled in the life, you know, growing up as a hillbilly, and the lack of education and the struggles they go through and all this type of stuff. The guy that wrote it is actually a Marine as well, Lionel. Another one's Lost City of the Monkey God. That is an excellent book. Probably one of the best books I've ever listened to / read. I won't give you too much on it, but it's you learn a lot of things from it.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, I learned about LIDAR from that, and what's that disease they got? But the last one is my favorite. Probably is The Gift of Fear. It's by Gavin de Becker, And I think it's a listen that everyone should, or read that everyone should crack it open. It's about trusting your gut instinct and how your instincts and your I'm losing the word. Your intuition is really much smarter than you are, and you need to learn how to read its signs and what it's telling you, because it is the animalistic side of you that has been developing for millions of years, and how it has learned to save your life essentially. And through our thinking and overthinking, a lot of times we hush that voice, and it gets us into a lot of trouble. It's not always right, but
you just program, man. You just program. You can't do that.
I mean, it is an excellent read. And the narrator for it, because I typically go audiobooks nowadays. I don't read anymore, and it's sad, but it's a great listen.
You do like Audible?
Yeah, I do a monthly subscription.
When do you find time to listen to books? I find it so much easier to read them.
Now that Nicole is back in the office, because there's no one there, so she's just going to be more productive. That time that Cruz is at daycare and I'm here.
So while you work, you sort of listen?
Yeah.
I can't do that, man.
I find it hard. When I read a book, it's like I need to take in all the details, and I feel like I'll miss something. I'll be like, fuck, rewind.
Oh yeah, I rewind quite a bit, but with my current position, I'm not too actively engaged. Tickets roll in. Today I had 2. Some days I have 7 or 8.
200. He really earned
it. Yeah. The CDC's making me earn my pay. It's because I'm a second level help. We're not just like help desk where we're fielding everybody's calls. It's just for the people who are on the COVID response team. And there's so many of us, and most of the problems are people are in the groove of what they're doing now. So those problems are not as big anymore.
I used to do podcasts a lot, right? Like I used to do podcasts during my commute. So when I was in Atlanta, I would average 1 or 2 episodes a day, right? You hit like 45 minutes to an hour in the morning, and then definitely an hour in the afternoon. When I was in Baltimore, it got a little bit more difficult because my commute was only like 20 minutes, like 25 if I had to take Tuck to doggy daycare. So I would average like an episode of a show a day. But like, that's because when you're driving, you can sort of pay attention to what's going on the podcast, the radio, or the audiobook, and then sort of zone out and drive, like you're still like reacting and stuff like that, but you can listen and pay attention. If I'm trying to work, dude, I can't do it. Cause like I can either pay attention to my job or pay attention to what I'm listening to. And that's it. So like I always end up on that like lo-fi hip hop beats to study and chill to YouTube station, Actually, hold on. Check out my bobblehead that I got.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So officially licensed merch, by the way. I'm always on that station because like I don't have to like I'll have a little enough of a beat, so like I can sort of get in the zone and stuff like that, but I don't have to listen to it. Sort of like I can't like listen to an album while I'm working. I have to like dedicate.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah, so that's why I like my podcast app is just like, you stopped listening to podcasts. We stopped downloading the episodes. I was like, nerd, did I tell you that? Actually, it's probably a good idea. Because like when I went on like, I think it was like Reply All, they're like 15 unheard episodes. I was like, damn. like those daily news episodes, daily news podcasts. Like you have 69 episodes. Nice. Micah, recommend me some stuff, bro.
Oh man. So one of the few I've heard his music, but I've really kind of given him a lot more attention recently after he made a song called Try Jesus. Toby Wigway. He's a really entertaining follow on whether it's Instagram or YouTube and whatnot. He's really he's real insightful. He talks a lot about the Black community and the struggles in it, and he's really about progressing forward in the Black community, and he's real interesting to follow. Now, I've recently developed a guilty pleasure kind of TV show. I don't really watch it, and it hasn't come on. It's not filming now because most TV shows aren't, but The Masked Singer. It's actually pretty entertaining, and I've been watching it lately. So
R.I.P. Nick Cannon's career.
Huh?
R.I.P. to Nick Cannon's career, man.
Oh my God.
He's building it back up. He's gonna be back. No
Mako.
That tried while you were talking about, I remember that Try Jesus song is it where it's like try Jesus, don't try me.
I feel hands.
Right.
Jesus was flipping tables over in the synagogue. You don't want to try Jesus either. Anyway, and then on I forgot. I should have said speaking of Dolly Parton, I should have said Whitney Houston's "And I Will Always Love You" is probably the best cover in history.
They've got that's a great story about that too in that podcast. Sorry, Marco, but like it's
for sure. But my recommendation for this week. My recommendation for this week is stay away from your T-zones. T-zones. Stay away from your T-zones. Please stop spreading the virus.
We want the run to go away so we can go back to restaurants, man. Please. Damn.
Do anything.
Or anything, right? Hey, so just a PSA for those of you who are listening. Kanye West is a paid agent of the Republican Party. The man is legitimately. See, I got to check. Brian, edit that out. So he's got electors in Ohio. I was just reading the electors that he has in Ohio. A bunch of them are paid GOP the activists and agents, and 10 of them live at the same 2 addresses.
What?
6 that live at one address and 4 that live at the other. So like Kanye West is legitimately working for Donald Trump. And I have a couple of thoughts about that. The first one is that both Kanye West and Donald Trump think that you are stupid because they think that because Kanye West is a popular rapper, that he will sway the election, right? Kanye thinks that he is that important, that he can sway the election. And Donald Trump also thinks that black people will vote for Kanye West because Kanye West is also black, right? So there's that. But the other thing is like, fuck Kanye West, man, which sucks because I'm on record talking about My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and Yeezus and Late Registration and Graduation,
Dropout.
I'm on the record as saying that that's some of my favorite music ever. And I just can't participate, man. I just can't do it. Feel bad for that guy's kids. Don't vote for Kanye West.
I feel sorry for your mama.
Oh, damn.
Sorry, that reminded me of that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Feel bad.
That's it. This has been the Fishing Guys podcast. What, Ryan?
Before you take us out, big shout out to Carl and Soy Sauce for, at the drop of a hat, running two bottles over here so we can send them off to old Colemeister.
Brett.
Yep. Send them out to Brett. His package with shirts, beer, and hot sauce will be arriving probably next week.
Oh, another shout out to Fred Flu University, loving the Flu, for doing his damn thing on the Fish and Grits, getting us a shout out big time.
Yeah. Helping to facilitate that shout out on 92.9. I like that Randy was like, I don't give people out my address. That's like, Randy, nobody cares.
Randy always says that. He's always like, I don't let
park
people park in my driveway, and I don't.
He's like the driver seemed nice. I was like, you mean Ryan Dollar?
That's me. I showed up.
He hosts a podcast, Randy. But for real, big shout out to Andy Bunker, who's a friend of the show. We love Andy Bunker. He's a great dude. And shout out to Flu also for helping us out. Carl, Soy Sauce, they got new merch. The new logo has been revealed. It was leaked to the media. Check them out at SWAYY_sauce on Instagram. Shout out to Juan Solano, James Juan 007 for our intro and interlude music. Juan is a genius. I don't think I have anybody else to shout out. Do we have anybody else to shout out? Anything else to do? All right, I'm tired. It's good. Be good to each other. Don't touch your T-zone. We'll see you later. Bye.
Peace.